Piers, I'm shocked at your rhetoric. In the past, when we have talked, you have readily recognized that the Israelis are committing genocide in Gaza.
I've never said that. I've never said
Furthermore,
that. I've never said that. I've never actually said I believe it constitutes a genocide. I think that you've heard genocidal language from people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, but I don't think it can be constructed as a genocide, because I don't think people who actually wage a genocide are interested in doing ceasefires, which we've now had for, thank God, quite a few weeks and months. Why would you if you're waging an actual genocide against a populace?
So what do you call it? Mass murder?
I would call it a form of ethnic.
What's the phrase that you use to describe what's going on?
I have phrased it as
in Gaza.
I believe it's been a form of ethnic cleansing, but I've not gone as far as saying it's a genocide.
You don't think it's mass murder?
I think that the Israel argument about calling it mass murder is that they believe they are responding to defend their people from actual genocidal maniacs, Hamas, who are wedded to the destruction of Israel and the death of all Jews, and showed on October the 7th that they intend to do just that. And I think that my argument with the way Israel's respond is that the response was completely disproportionate, went way too far. And like I said, they've broken a number of laws in the way that they responded. But I have not actually categorized it as a genocide, not least because no state has ever been found guilty of waging a genocide as a state, I understand.
I'm actually shocked at your rhetoric. I can't believe that you don't recognize that what the Israelis, with assistance from the Americans, have done in Gaza is a genocide, or if not a genocide, an instance of mass murder. And when the Israelis and the Americans criticize the Iranian government for using violence against Iranian protesters, that doesn't represent hypocrisy of the first order.
It's the Homeless Left with Matt Weinglass and co-host Craig Pasta Jardula with guest correspondent Kelly Lane. Episode 160. This was always the plan. And a real fake news update. And here's your host, Matt Weinglass.
All right, welcome everybody to the Homeless Left, your non-tribal approach to news channel. We're here with you guys all afternoon today on this Tuesday. Welcome everyone. I'm Matt Weinglass, and we have a lot of stuff going on this week. Just kind of shuffling through the stories. Things are happening at a record rate of speed, so we try to keep up on everything. We just want to say, here we are, you guys. We're doing this together. We have a great show planned today. This is what we're calling today this was always the plan. I think throughout all of the chaos that we're seeing in this first year of Trump's administration, we're holding our guns to the place where we started from. We thought that there was maybe a sliver of a chance that you had this guy coming in to do something against this deep state, but we were very skeptical the whole way. It seems like every step of the way seems to have been pre-planned, whether it has to do with the bringing in the technocracy age, with the Palantir, everything going on with ICE right now, and of course all of our foreign wars, which are aggressively initiated by this administration, seems to be something that we have had in the works, every single one, whether it's from Venezuela to Iran, even this Greenland mess. Everything seems to be you can date it back to a starting point that goes well before Trump ever came into the second term, not even before the first term. But that's kind of a running theme with us, is that we like to look back and say, this seems like it fits a pattern. So even when we think that, there's some sort of 3D, 4D, 60, 70 chess going on, or Trump's just responding to the current climate, that's not the case. The current climate was created on purpose. And that's why we're calling this episode, This Was Always the Plan. So we have a lot of stuff to get into today. You guys saw that opening, the Piers Morgan, always playing dumb, always looking like, hey, I'm trying to be fair, give everyone a chance. But John Mersheimer, he certainly called him out as somebody who is deflecting what we are actually seeing in real time, clearly a genocide. We don't have to argue with you guys about that. You guys understand that. But the fact that you still have these people like Piers Morgan on the air pretending to be about free speech and bringing people on when it's really just about playing dumb for his audience and just trying to find these moments where, hey, we covered all the bases, but we're just going to stay right here in the center, which is where they kind of want us. And just speaking of center, let's talk about that for a second, because when we say we detach from both parties, when we say that we are not aligned with either party, I believe there is some sort of insinuation there, or there's some sort of idea that the unspoken part is that we might just be center. We just might be in the middle of both. That's not the case. It's far the opposite, actually. It's far from the truth. What we are is the opposite. Piers Morgan plays the role of centrist. What we are is we are outside of the system. We are protesting the system. Therefore, you can't be center of the system. That means that's implying that you're in the system. So we are outside of it. We're actually on the bottom, and we're punching up from there. So there's no center. There's no left. There's no right. There's just people versus power. That's all it is. And so as soon as we can figure out a good way to communicate that, people can't mislabel us. They want to mislabel us. They want to put us in a box somewhere in the center. That's not what actually is going on here. We're calling out the whole thing. That's what we're doing. We're exposing the war machine, exposing pharma, exposing the two-party duopoly. At every turn of the page, there's another opportunity to expose that. So we're going to do that, more of that today. And I told you we are going to be bringing in Craig Pasta here shortly. We have KELLEY LANE joining us. We have some a lot of stuff to get into that they're going to be bringing to the table. So we appreciate all your guys' engagement wherever you're following us on right now. We appreciate you guys being on there. And just to let you know, if you only are hearing us on one or seeing us on one platform, this one's important. This is the THL Presents on YouTube. You can now start to search us as The Homeless Left on YouTube. It's working now, which is good. So we've been fighting the algorithm. Thanks to you guys. Engagement on this channel has really it's come a long way. We've only been up a year on this channel, and we've done tremendous things in that year together. So let's make the second year spectacular together. And you guys know our Rumble channel. This is basically where we've been home based at for the 3 years we've been doing this. And so we appreciate you guys keeping us alive here on Rumble. Rumble doesn't pull our plug. YouTube does. YouTube likes to terminate channels. It likes to suspend channels. It likes to send you misinformation notices, say you're dangerous to the community. Rumble doesn't do that, but they have other ways they like to censor. They shadow ban, certainly. Right now we're dealing with the algorithm. Right now on Rumble, like we have to figure out why our subscribers are not getting the notification right away. We hear from you guys. You're not getting the notification for some reason. So we have to talk about that and figure that out. But more importantly, we have to recognize about Rumble and all of the platforms is that shadow banning or not, censoring or not, they're keeping a log, a database of all of our conversations, all of our communications, all of our back and forth. They have a log on each and every one of us. So understand that we are part of a surveillance state, and we have to recognize that, accept that, and just keep asking ourselves, is it worth doing this? We answer that question. Yes, hell yeah, it's worth doing this. But understand, make no mistake, we're all in a database. And Rumble's being smart. They're saying, hey, let's not pull the plug. Let's keep those guys talking, and then we can hold that stuff against them later, which is probably what's happening. Anyways, with that said, let's go ahead and I got to show you guys. Yeah, we're also on X, so you guys can follow us there. And even if you guys throw comments up, I think we can see them here on our home base on StreamYard where we run from. We're not doing Facebook today. We'll figure that out for another week. But for now, yeah, I think we are ready to go here. And what else? Any other announcements? If I can think of anything, I'll tell you guys later. But I'm seeing you guys are starting to come in on the platform, so appreciate that. Let's get started right now. We like to start the week off with what we call Real Fake News Update. All right, let's do it. It's a Real Fake News Update, not brought to you by Pfizer. Today, we're looking at what has been manifesting in Minneapolis with the ICE raids and seeing how some of the different outlets have been covering this stuff as we are getting more and more information about what's really going on there. So we will dissect some of the latest with you right now, starting with this. You guys might have seen this breakout. This kind of made the rounds on Twitter. A church was protested because of a pastor that apparently is an agent for ICE and also a pastor at this church. The protesters came in, and this is some highlights from that experience. And then we'll see the pushback from that and the reaction to that experience. Here you go.
David Easterwood is a pastor here. He is also the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. So someone who claims to worship God, teaching people in this church about God, is out there overseeing ICE agents. Think about what we've experienced. The murder of Renee Good at the hands of ICE. A Venezuelan national shot by ICE. A 6-month-old baby who almost died as a result of ICE unleashing military-grade weapons on our community. How dare you claim to be a pastor of God and you are involved in evil in our community?
Do you think Jesus would be understanding?
We're about worship.
These folks.
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them?
No, church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters. Yeah. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left.
If you recognize that guy, that was Don Lemon. Oddly enough, doing some basic 101 journalism where you go into the thing and you actually ask people questions. We haven't seen that from him lately or at all, really. I can't remember the last time we saw him just do actual journalism. So that's just basic. That's not like anything award winning. You just go up and ask questions and you cover this, you cover the story. That's what you do. But anyways, we'll come back to that in a second here. Let's see what else here. So ICE out, ICE out, ICE out. That's the chant. The actual pastor in question, this is the guy, David Easterwood. And you guys can go check it out right now. His paper trail is very clear. He's the acting director at St. Paul, the Minnesota field office, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And he's also a pastor, so he does both. And it's just something that the ICE protests wanted the people at the church to know that's what they were signing up for. And again, I mentioned Don Lemon was there. So there was a lot of eyes on this. You can only imagine what Trump's reaction was. Here's his quick spin on it right here. And of course, the degrading of the protesters and Don Lemon is expected.
And they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight. I saw him the way he walked in that church. It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible yesterday.
I used to like Don Lemon. I liked him back when he used to bully anti-vaxxers. I liked that version of Don Lemon, not the guy going in asking questions. That guy sucks. He looked like a loser walking in that church with a microphone and a camera asking what's going on here, because we don't like that about journalism. We don't need questions. We need bullying like I do, and we need to talk down and shame people without power, like we love to do with anti-vaxxers. Maha, F you too, by the way. Just so you know, F you, because we played you the whole time. So no, Don Lemon, F you for asking questions. Anyway, so you guys can also imagine Fox News picking this up. Now, I have to point out there's been somebody on Fox News that has, shockingly, they've been giving her some airtime You might have heard of her. Her name's Jessica Tarvlo. She walks this through with her group of, I would say, obviously the people that don't, they're completely against this. They want these protesters to be punished, to pay for their crimes, protect ICE agents at all costs. But she gets a few words in about this, and I think it's worthy of note, since it is on Fox News, the biggest pusher of ICE and police and surveillance state, more than the other networks, even though they're all owned by the same people. This one's the one where if you want to get the volume turned up, go to Fox. That's why, let's hear what Jessica Tarvlo has to say on this.
It's all happening against a backdrop that is driving this city to the point that there are people standing outside of their homes holding their rifles.
Notice the header at the bottom: anti-ICE lunatics. It's right out of a Trump playbook. It's great. They're totally in line with that verbiage. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah, lunatics have a problem with surveillance state and terrorism by people that are abusing power that don't have to identify themselves. Yeah, total lunatic idea to want to be against that.
Like, I'm going to protect my community because of what ICE is doing. And this alarming contrast between how upset Harmeet Dillon is over this and the Trump administration, she's saying that she and Bondi are working around the clock. No right is more sacred than the freedom to assemble and pray to God at the same time. And then you listen to Todd Blanche, who was on with Shannon Bream. She said, hey, are you investigating Officer Ross's actions when he killed Renee Good 10 days ago or whenever it was? And he says, millions of Americans saw the video. We investigate when it's appropriate. That is not this case here. So we are not investigating.
Got hit by a car.
82% of people saw that video. 53% think that he should be criminally charged for it. And then the Wall Street Journal comes out and they're reporting that there are incentives for ICE agents, because they need to meet that insane 3,000 people a day quota, that they're getting rewarded even if they bring in people who then get released. These stories of America.
So hold on. Let's pause here for a second. Okay, so she just said an insane quota that they have to meet, a 3,000 a day quota. Where did this come from? We haven't heard anything like this. And the fact that Wall Street Journal put this out, very interesting, very interesting. Let's look at that header. Here it is. Wall Street Journal, the standoff that has turned Minnesota into a tinderbox. ICE agents with arrest quotas. Wow. They're colliding with angry residents. Combat City and relatively small proportion of immigrants here illegally, and there is a very small proportion. We're talking about 1% of the country, of the undocumented residents of the entire country. 1% are in Minnesota. 1%. So why is 15% of the ICE agents focused there? Does that make sense mathematically? Does that make sense financially? None of that actually makes any sense. None of it actually makes any sense. So the Wall Street Journal did, in fact, report this quota system. The ICE has to make 3,000 arrests a day, and they get credit towards the bonus. You remember the sign-on bonus, the 50,000? And there's other bonuses. They have ability to pay down student loans. There's all these little incentives. So they get credits towards their bonuses, even if those arrested are later released. Well, that's weird. So if I'm a guy that wants to have these credits and wants to pay off my loans, and I want this 50,000 bonus, I want all these things, I want all these bonuses. What is in my best interest as a sales guy? Because it's a sales job. Now we're talking about a sales job, right? Meet your quota. Any of you guys done sales? Meet your quota. What do you get? You get rewarded. You get bumped up to the next tier. So they don't have to be legit convictions by any sort. Just arrests. So how do you do arrests? You can do that any way you want. So we're setting up the system itself is being set up to be run chaotically on purpose, not accidentally, on purpose. You check every box to create this chaos by putting the masks on, by shaming people, by having everybody in the administration from Kristi Noem to J.D. Vance, at every turn tell you that these people need to do their job and you stay the F out of their way. And their job is whatever they say it is because they have to meet these quotas. Aside from that, what else did we find out? Well, we found out that the technology, which we know comes from Palantir, they're actually developing an app for this. let's grab that right now, just so you guys can see that this thing is in the works, and it's not actually well tuned yet. That's the thing, because you're talking about, well, how, if they have the ability to target the actual people they want, why are they screwing this up all the time? Well, because the technology isn't completely together yet. But this is what we found out from 404. The name of the app is called Elite. The Palantir app ICE uses to find neighborhoods to raid. That's the app, and they can use it. Again, it's not fully developed, but it's the one they're working on. So it's misdiagnosing. It's doing the facial recognition and it's getting it wrong a lot of the time. Is what's happening. Is what we're hearing. But it's Palantir that's working on this tool. It's for ICE. It populates the map with potential deportation targets. It brings up a dossier on every person and provides a confidence score. What? Confidence score on the person's current address. So this is all from 404 Media. ICE is using it to find locations where lots of people might detain could be based. Okay. Well, so is this actually being used yet? It's still being developed. It's probably in process right now. 404 Media, I know that they're still in the middle of this investigation, but apparently through sworn testimony from ICE officials, they're able to show a link between this technological infrastructure the Palantir is building for ICE and the agency's activities on the ground. So, and you get where does the addresses come from? They come from the Department of Health and Human Services. That's weird, right? What Department of Health and Human Services has the intel on locations? Really? Wow, that's interesting. So RFK Jr. is then, so now that makes more sense why RFK Jr. was talking about anti-Semitism when he first got into office. It makes more sense that he says we have to crack down on and target. So there's been a database of people directly through his office going into the field. And we'll see how legit, how like effective this technology actually is. Clearly, it's not that effective. Not to mention, even if it was effective, we know that the quota system is going to outdo this system because it's just about as many arrests as you can possibly get in the day to earn your bonuses. That's what this is about. So why would you have such a defective system in place on purpose? Again, this was always the plan, to target U.S. citizens, not just illegal immigrants. If it was about illegal immigrants, you wouldn't put all your resources in Minnesota right now for 1%. That doesn't make sense. You wouldn't put 15% into 1%. By basic math, that doesn't actually make sense. Okay. Well, look, we've seen so much video. We're going to probably keep seeing it. I'm just going to put one example up right now of how they're getting things wrong and why maybe the use of these quotas and the use of this technology, which it's very ineffective, is probably contributing to them getting things wrong, constantly getting things wrong. This is one that just we saw from yesterday. ICE agents broke into yet another family's home without a warrant in Minneapolis, a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment, and illegally detained a U.S. citizen who was half naked in sub-zero temperatures. Do you guys know how effing cold it is out there right now? Yesterday, ICE agents, they show up to this family's home. They force their way inside without a warrant. They trash the house, put a gun to the daughter-in-law's head. They drag the father out wearing only boxers, refusing to let him put clothes on while it was -9 degrees outside. Have you guys ever been in that? I think that's with wind chill. Wind chill can definitely bring temperature down just with a little breeze. And there's a meter for that. There's a scale for that. But -9, 0, or even 9, +9. This is cold as crap. But then it gets worse. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen. ICE illegally enters the home, detains him, drives him around for an hour, interrogated, fingerprinted him, only after realizing they had no authority to hold him, quietly dumped him back at his house like nothing happened. No warrant, no charges, no consequences. This isn't immigration enforcement. It's armed home invasions, constitutional violations, and state-sanctioned kidnapping. If they can do it to a U.S. citizen in his own home, they can do it to you too. Here's a video of the actual incident.
Un señor bañándose, nada más lo llevan tapado. Wow! Fucking pussies, 20 people for one old man. Jesus Christ. No mames. 20 people for 1 minute. Wow. Estas son las placas. Y esa van nos quiso atropellar. Esa van nos quiso atropellar a mí y a mi mamá. Nomás agarraron a ese señor, es un chino, pero se estaba bañando.
What kind of criminals you do, man?
If they do it to them, they can do it to you too. U.S. citizens getting pulled out of their home. This is where we're at now. This is where we're at now. And to protest it means you're the problem. That's the precedent being set. That's the precedent being set by this administration. That's the precedent being set by most news outlets are doing this. I know that they're trying to be balanced and bring on someone like Jessica Tarvlov, which is great for a few minutes, but ultimately the group, they stick someone like that in, they're going to be louder. There's more of them than her, and they're going to fight back, and they're going to keep those little headlines on the screen that say you're a lunatic if you have a problem with this. That's what they're doing. If you want one more example of the way they taunt and ridicule and punch down, just listen to Jesse Waters, who also on Fox News, decides it would be fun to mock women who might actually have cases against ICE agents for sexual misconduct. Do you think that might actually be a problem? Yeah, that actually might be a problem. But Jesse Waters thinks it's funny to laugh at because, of course, you know, those ICE agents getting Me Too'd, we got to be on the side of those ICE agents. They're straight up people of the community, except for the fact that they hide behind masks because they don't want to be recognized for the BS that they're doing. But here's Jesse Waters telling you how funny it is that some women might actually get into some sexual assault issues with these masked vigilante terrorists.
Of slavery and the Holocaust. What's next? They're going to start Me Tooing these agents? Protesters are going to blow their whistles and be like, he touched me.
New at 4, a former detention officer at the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center in Basile pleaded guilty to having sexual relations with a detainee. 56-year-old David Corvell pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual abuse of a person in federal custody. Prosecutors say Corvell began a personal relationship with a Nicaraguan detainee and had sex with the detainee multiple times while she was under his authority. Corvell could face up to 15 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000.
Yeah, funny. Funny. Okay. Well, look, this is obviously we have to keep on this story. This is going to continue to get bigger. This is not going away anytime soon. Trump certainly doubled downing on this policy with ICE and the immunity ICE gets. And yeah, they got to get their bonuses, guys. They got to get those bonuses. So hopefully Palantir can get that app all nice and ready so they can really start targeting people and get those arrests out, because you got to meet your quota. You got to meet your quota. It's a sales job. And, you know, if you want to be successful, you just got to buckle down and, you know, knock on doors, as they say. But in this case, it's break down doors. I think that's the new expression in this case. Break down doors, guys. Get out there and break down doors and get your sales. This has been a Real Fake News update, not brought to you by Pfizer. Okay, let's get into some more. Oh, we got some more stories, guys. We got some big stories coming in here. I'm going to set it up right now, and I think we're ready to bring in our co-host today. Yeah, I think we might be ready here. Let's see. Let's make sure everyone's set. And yes, okay. We're close. We'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to set up the next segment. We're going to have Craig Pasta Jardula come in with us here in a moment. Until then, let's just do a little 2-minute. We'll be back in 2 minutes, guys, with Craig Pasta Jardula and some more homeless love for you guys. Don't go anywhere. Or go grab a drink, go to the bathroom. We'll see you back here in 2 minutes. Okay, we are back. I think we're ready for our next segment now. Guys, if you're just joining us, you got here at a good time. You only missed a little bit. You can go back and watch us on replay. The links on Rumble, they always stay up. Our live shows always stay up. You guys can watch them raw, live, anytime you want, or just wait for our segments to be uploaded. And we'll get those out to you guys as well as soon as we can. There's a few we're still backed up on last week, but we'll get those out to you guys. And this show will certainly divide the segments up. And it's good to do that if you guys want to discuss or share a particular topic with people around you and you want to cut right to the chase. We want to give you guys the tools you need to engage with people, build bridges back, I guess, with people that you might have fallen off with. And these issues might affect them. They might actually want to be talking right now, and you might be able to start that conversation with them. So that's why we do this for you guys. So yeah, that's it. But anyways, the live show stays up on Rumble, so you guys know that moving forward. Let's go ahead and bring in our co-host for today. You know him, you love him. Please welcome back to the show, Craig Pasta Jardula.
Hey, man, I'm just enjoying this beautiful weather over here in sunny South Florida and having a good time and happy to come on the show. Had a bunch of interviews this morning. Great ones, Karen Kwiatkowski, Don DeBar, Daniel McAdams, fun stuff at Pasta to Go, so you can go check that out. Doing those on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm just here. I'm loosey and goosey. I have a lot of good stuff going on, ready to talk. And man, some of that ICE stuff. We talked about ICE this morning. It is an illegal task force, right? It's plain and simple. What they're doing, is completely illegal. So I don't know if they can say that anything they are doing is legal, but seeing the way these conservatives, and you played a clip from Fox News, see the way Fox News is talking about this, it's crazy to me that they have this mentality, Matt, that it's okay to break the law to uphold the law. But it's like Rand Paul said on the floor the other day of the Senate, that it just seems like whenever parties in power, they'll stamp and stomp all over the Constitution, only to complain that the Constitution is not being followed when they're not in power. And that's how it goes. They just take turns. But it's quite disgusting seeing what's going on with ICE and what's continuing to happen. One of the facts that you brought up I thought was amazing. They got about 1% of the immigrants there, but they got 15% of the force there. Makes no sense to me. What happened to all you states issues people? If the state doesn't want you there, right, then why are you there? And as far as your Somali, Minnesota fraud, it's a drop in the bucket compared to some of the people that Donald Trump has pardoned for their crimes in the economic field. The way some of the people he's pardoned defrauded everyday people at a much higher level. So please don't talk to me about principles, because you have none. It's about being principled, as the good Matt Weinglass says, and the conservatives and the populist right that are still defending this guy, they got none of it. But, we do hear Donald Trump getting booed at stadiums now, so maybe the tide is turning there, Matt. Who knows?
Maybe it is. We know there's going to be a spin about come back to the Democratic Party. That's why people are so mad. No, people are mad because they're done with both parties. That's the point. And I think we need to recognize that if you're hearing otherwise, that's a spin. That's a two-party duopoly spin to try to get you keep going back and forth. Every 4 years, you go back and forth, back and forth. No, this is the young people. Definitely, they're done with it. We'll be talking more about that today's show. And we got KELLEY LANE coming on. We were talking about, is now the opportunity, not just to say Trump was full of shit. Now's the opportunity to say the entire system was full of shit. We're done with it. We're not going back. See, it's time for Newsom 28. No, that's not happening. And I think a lot of people are realizing that now, that both we're being played on both sides. And like you said, Craig, I think it's fascinating how the people themselves have been able to do kind of backflips to change the argument based on what their party's doing. And that's the only reason they're able to get away with it. So hopefully there's less people doing that. But make no mistake, the diehard MAGAs, they are backflipping. They are doing these somersaults around all over each other, trying to figure out how this makes sense, when it's exactly the opposite of the thing that they were yelling about when it was Biden for 4 years doing this to people. So yeah, hopefully enough people are seeing it now.
What happened to the return to the Constitution, right?
And before we get on to the next story, I just want to put this up from Airways, because I did do this little bit on Don Lemon, and Airways says Don Lemon is a professional nitwit. He was embedded with the group protesting at the church. Pastor wasn't the one group was protesting against. And so to point this out, yes, we know he's a nitwit, so we agree with you. But I just think it's interesting that he does the one interview, and then Trump's like, "How dare Don Lemon go in there and interview the pastor?" And it wasn't the actual pastor that was hooked to ICE. But the point is you can't even do one little thing that's even in the ballpark of let's get the story, and you're gonna get shit on. It's just funny to me because Don Lemon does not have a good record of trying to get the story. Anyways, but I just want to throw that out that we were just noticing that it's pretty. Trump.
I like what you said. We liked you when you were bashing on people talking out against the vaccine and stuff. We want you to go back to that, Don.
Go back to that. Back to that. That'll make Trump happy if you go back to that.
Trump, what a freaking nitwit he is. You want to talk about a nitwit when a guy is gone? Just, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just sad. And seeing this donkey. I mean, and there's no pushback. And that's the whole thing right now. He can't even have a sophisticated conversation, right? Like somebody asks him a question, or somebody asks Pam Bondi or Karen Levitt a question, they just flip off. You disagree with them. What are you, part of the radical left? What are you, this and that? It's just a demonizing people. They're doing the same thing that they accused the leftist, the American leftist, of doing when they were in power and they were up there. It's more of the same. And I hope you are right. I hope this is why like half of the people are independents and the other half is split between these two donkey parties. Well, one's an elephant party, one's a donkey party, but they're both jackasses in my mind. But this is a big reason why the majority of people in this country are independents. And I hope we can come out shiny and saying enough is enough with these parties, because you are right. Handsome Newsom is coming, or Pete Buttigieg is coming, but the Democrats are going to go there. The do-nothing party, the Democratic Party, the party that's occupying a space where a real leftist party should be. Old school leftists, freedom of speech, freedom of civil liberties, freedom of press, anti-imperialist party, that party that wants to desperately take place, that needs to be represented in America, because there's a lot of people out there who have those values. You know, we have to be prepared for them to come swinging back, the oligarchs. And they're all pro-war. You know what I'm saying? Once again, there's not a single Democratic congressman or senator on the floor that will push back against this war in Ukraine, Russia. They are okay with it, and they are disgusting. And it really is sad to me that these people have just been duped to going along with Putin bad, Putin bad, Putin bad. Do they even understand the story of Putin? You know, we were talking about him the other day, Matt, with Mark Sloboda, and we're going to play that interview tomorrow on the Truth Wire, that Putin was selected by oligarchs, right, supposedly, to go in there and do the same work that Boris Yeltsin was, to be part of the balkanization for the Russian oligarchs and the Western oligarchs to make a lot of money. And supposedly he changed, you know, and he became a nationalist and said, no, I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to control the oligarchs, and I'm going to do what's right for Russia. And it's completely against, right? It's supposed to be what the leftists stand for. A nationalized person, anti-oligarch, anti-capitalist of sorts. And yet they still demonize them left and right. Even the left can't even learn their fucking short history, and it's a shame.
No, it's we memory hold. We have these short attention spans, but they count on that. But hopefully, and more people are waking up to this, and that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. I guess we got a little transition to this next story, because I got to say, I can understand that if you are diehard MAGA, you might think this is really, really good news. So we're here for you guys, your diehard MAGAs out there, to let you know that this is not actually good news, even though it sounds like it. What am I talking about? We're talking about Trump's Gaza Board of Peace. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound nice, Craig? Board of Peace sounds really nice. Okay. Well, let's see. Trump got really excited. He tweeted this out on his Truth Social. It's my great honor to announce that the Board of Peace has been formed. The members of the board will be announced shortly, but I can say with certainty that it's the greatest and most prestigious board ever assembled at any time, any place. Wow, they could really count on that type of man. He just really comes through for these guys. He just said, greatest thing ever. Yes. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this is official. We have this Board of Peace. What do we know so far? Well, here's what has been announced. The Board of Peace has been named. We have these are the faces. This is exactly what you were just talking about in last segment. Fausta, you're talking about these warmongers that are, this is what they do. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Steve Witkoff, Special Envoy. So these people have been at the side. Jared Kushner has been at the side of Trump this entire time. Abraham Accord's architect, Trump's son-in-law. Now you got Tony Blair. Throw Tony Blair in there. This psychopath Middle East envoy. You got AJ Banga, president of the World Bank. Oh, that's nice. Get him in there. Mark Rowan, billionaire investor. You got to have this guy. CEO of Apollo Global Management. And then you got these other, the local administration, Ali Shahath, head of the National Committee of Administration of Gaza. So I guess if you were looking at this from the point of view of Trump is sticking it to Netanyahu, you're noticing, oh, look, there's a lot of people coming in here. You got people from Qatar, Egypt. They're coming in here. U.S. is kind of running things. That feels nice, right? Doesn't that feel really? It feels really good. Like he's got this plan that's been put into place that he can kind of control, and Netanyahu's not going to be able to do anything about it. This is him signing the damn thing. And then I'll add one in that we learned since this post went up, which is pretty disturbing after what we just covered last week on the show. If you remember, Craig, we were covering Mealy last week. This guy's the biggest suck up to Israel of all. And now Trump has invited this is Argentina's right-wing president. This is Javier Milei to join into the Gaza Board of Peace as a founding member. And he accepts, obviously. Thanks, Trump, confirming the participation of Argentina, saying the board aims to promote lasting peace, starting with Gaza. He adds that Argentina will stand with countries confronting terrorism, defending life and property, and promoting peace and freedom. Confronting terrorism. No. Argentina actually, that must be a typo. Argentina actually stands with countries promoting terrorism. That's why he changed the law in Argentina in December that a foreign nation's allowed to buy up burnt land in Argentina, and which then shockingly, out of nowhere, the entire southern forest burns down. And guess who's there to buy it up? Israel. So that's really convenient that for Israel that they could use Argentina as a place of sanctuary, where a lot of IDF soldiers are going to want to end up right now. That's actually where they're looking at right now, because they have to have an escape plan. Well, Argentina is the escape plan for the IDF. The escape plan for this, it's very similar to Nazi Germany.
Exactly.
Where are you going to go? Well, Argentina has a very nice forest. You got to burn down the forest so they can come in and actually buy the property, which they're doing now. Similar things happening in Chile right now as well. We won't go down that rabbit hole right now. We're actually going to get to that on Thursday. But this is all the pieces coming together. And to top it off, Netanyahu seems publicly to be mad about this. And I think this is the hardest part for MAGAs to understand. They think, again, that this is some win because Netanyahu is faking that he's rejecting the proposal, the Administrative Committee for Gaza. The Prime Minister's office says the announcement was not coordinated with him and contradicts Israeli policy. Netanyahu adds the announcement of Gaza's governing council subordinate to the peace conference was not coordinated with Israel and contradicts its policy. The prime minister has instructed the foreign minister to raise the matter with the U.S. Secretary of State. And there's his, the administration committee reportedly met with the head of the Egyptian intelligence. At the same time, Trump extended invitations to the leaders of Egypt, Turkey, Argentina, and Canada to participate in the peace council, as we covered earlier. Israeli political sources counter that the formation of the executive committee was coordinated with Netanyahu, claiming he is protesting mainly to appear to object. It says it right there. Obviously, this is all for stage. This is all for theater, all of it. And there you go. Nice little
Matt, are you saying then that the Iron Sheik was really not mad at Sergeant Slaughter? I mean, is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, I got you. Understood.
Yeah. I mean, but again, because we've seen this time and time again, the theater of Trump and Netanyahu being mad at each other, and it's supposed to stir the base up and go, oh, something's happening, when the whole thing's coordinated the whole time. So that's what I'm seeing here. Am I missing something here, Craig? Is there something?
No, you hit it on the nose, because that's what they do all the time. They see the public opinion polls. They see that, I'm saying that there's a lot of heat on the Trump administration about him being Israel first, not America first. And when that gets out of hand, they go and pull one of these little stunts all the time. So idiots out there can say, well, it looks like Trump is putting Netanyahu on a leash. No, he's not. Netanyahu's holding the leash, and Donald Trump is on the end of it. And that's what's really going on. And they'll pull every once in a while this phony little kabuki theater to act like, there is national sovereignty when we are being controlled completely by the lobbyists. And that's just the crux of it. And people have to come to grips with that. So this is just phony, fake stuff to give your populist right people who are still holding on, who will support Donald Trump no matter what. This gives them their confirmation bias, and they'll run for it with a little bit. Well, if he's not, why did he do the thing when, Netanyahu was pissed off about the peace committee? Donald Trump did it anyways. That's what they'll say. They'll use this, right? So, but we understand, like you said, that this is all coordinated, baby.
It's all coordinated. It's been coordinated for a long time. This isn't, they're not just making this up like the writer's room of, whatever, Stranger Things are like, we got to do it. We got to write another season. We didn't know this thing was going to be such a hit. What do you guys want to do? It's not like that. They have actually planned this years in advance. How do we know this? Well, if you remember, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner sat down on 60 Minutes a few months ago. I think this was back in October, actually, and told the 60-minute audience. I guess this is pre Barry Wise 60 Minutes, but still, it's still, the fact that they let this conversation air on 60 Minutes is quite fascinating, because they're telling us that that from a financial point of view, the plan in Gaza has been in play for literally 2 years. Here we go. And Jared Kushner doesn't look too happy that Steve Witkoff is so openly kind of bragging about this from a business perspective. He looks a little concerned, like he maybe wouldn't have said all of this information on CBS. Here we go.
The plan is the reconstruction, the rebuilding of Gaza. And you're builders, you've been in real estate. As you said, it's extremely complex. Tell us more about the plan and how much it's going to cost. Where's the money going to come from? And who's going to award the contracts? 3 questions.
I think it's going to cost a lot of money.
What's a lot of money?
The estimates are in the $50 billion range. It might be a little bit less. It might be a little bit more. I happen to think that that's not a lot of money in that region. You have governments that are going to jump on in, and
so the Middle East countries are going to provide the money.
But you'll see European participation and so forth. I think the beginning of this plan is how to get it going, and that's what me and Jared work on all the time. The money raising, we think, is the easy part. We think that happens relatively quickly, but it's the master plan. And
how do we get rid of all these Palestinians that are still there?
Been working on master plans for the last 2 years.
So.
Oh, wait, look at that. Look at that. We've been working on it for 2 years. Look at Jared Kushner's face. This is great. This is great.
And we're working with a group of people who have been working on master plans for the last 2 years.
So there are plans already.
We have plans already. We have a master plan already. And by the way, and Jared's been pushing this, and we're working together on it. And I think if the world saw the progress so far, they'd be pretty impressed.
Wow. Working on this master plan for 2 years. And again, this is October of 2025. So that takes us right back to October 7th, 2023. Interesting. Some are speculating that when they say 2 years, they mean right before October 7th. That would also be a nice theory that could make sense. I don't know if we have any proof,
Matt,
but
don't do the math like that. You're gonna get us in trouble over here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, be careful with doing the real math over here. Come on now, take it easy,
man.
It's just the coincidence that these people are being genocide and colonized and thrown out of their own homeland, that these two guys show up. You know what I'm saying? It's just a coincidence that Witkoff, a real estate guy, and Jared Kushner, another real estate guy, talk about building luxury houses in the Gaza Strip. That's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. It doesn't even have to predate October 7th for this to be nefarious, which, I mean, I'm going to just speculate it might. That is an option on the table. It was before October 7th. But even if you said it was after October, even if you made that case, that's still pretty effed up that you're saying that after this event that happened that changed everything, Israel's 9/11, as they told us, 40 beheaded babies and all these women raped that we have zero proof of, that they're saying, oh, that's when we thought it would be a good idea to put a plan together. After this horrible thing Hamas did, we figured, yeah, I think we need to start making real estate investments to take Gaza, and we're going to have to turn into a parking lot first. So even if you dated it after October 7th, it's completely disgusting. And I think that's why Jared Kushner's face is turning there to like, Steve, why are you giving her the timeline here? That's crazy. Like, why are you doing that? But they aired it on 60-minute overtime. So it's something we need to look at. I'm not saying we have to put the timestamp at but they're telling us that this was planned for 2 years. That's what they're telling.
Yeah. you know, it's really scary. And Fiorella pointed out on Truthwire yesterday that, you know, this divide now out there globally is not about nation states, China versus United States or Russia versus United States. It's oligarchs. It's the 1%. You know, it's them versus the bottom. You got a guy, Dmitry Krivil, I think his name is Krivil. I can't even say his name. Dmitry Krivil, who happens to be a BlackRock guy, a guy in Wall Street tied to Western Bank, and who happens to have the ear of Vladimir Putin as one of his economic advisors. And this is the stuff that's going on. You know, that split seems to be between the upper half and the smaller part. You know what I'm saying? The 1% versus the rest of us. And this is just more proof of that. You know, Witkoff is still going off, talking to, you know, counterparts from Russia. And these guys are businessmen. They're not like, you know, military men that are sitting there coming to the table saying, how do we end these wars and whatnot? So, you know, it's getting scary out there too as well. So, I mean, you know, no one's coming to save us until we save ourselves. That's it.
No.
No one's coming to save us. You know what I'm saying? No ideologue is going to help us. No ruler is going to help us. We have to come together collectively and figure out a way to beat this back, because they are, you know, they're working with everybody across the globe to make sure that we're in chains.
If they're willing to do this to Palestinians, they're willing to do this to any foreigner. They're willing to do this to any you know, any undocumented worker, anyone with a visa problem. Guess what? They're willing to do it to U.S. citizens too. They're willing to do anything they need to do to push their agenda and keep us thinking that it doesn't affect us, because as long as you do everything right, Craig, you got nothing to hide. I got nothing to hide. Why are you so worried about surveillance, Craig? Why are you so worried about them listening to your phone? You're not. Are you doing anything wrong? If you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't have a problem. So this is the count on that philosophy to justify things way back. This goes way back to the Patriot Act. We were yelling about this back then. We said, why is this okay? And now I think we've full circled. I think you were talking about the right-left switch earlier. I think we have full circled back to the right-wing administration and the followers of that agenda, that philosophy of freedom isn't free. It costs $1.29. This is the cost of that freedom. This is the cost of safety, right? We have safety now. And the Palestinians, you know, hey, we got to do what we got to do. But hey, what are you going to do? You got to rebuild. We got to rebuild. We got to rebuild. So there's a justification for everything. But they had it planned the whole time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they did. They did.
All right. We got another one to get into here. This one, we heard about this. The IAC summit. You guys hear about this? The IAC summit. It was basically an Israel first summit. You had all the players there, Miriam Adelson. You had Pam Bondi there. You had Democrats showing up. You had Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We're going to get into all of that right here. This is just so you guys know. This I think this was last weekend. This occurred. This was in Florida. This was in South Florida, where this occurred. And there's some stuff going on in Florida as well, which is pretty interesting that it's happening in the same area at the same time. But it's all related to this. You got to put Israel first. Anything it takes. We got to impose laws. We got to shut people up. And we got to push that anti-Semitism is the biggest problem apparently we have in the world right now. Let me grab the article here. Hold on one sec. Dude, I thought I had it queued up. Where'd that go? Hold on. My bad. Here's what we'll do. I'm just going to show the first clip. I thought I had an article queued up. I don't have it. Okay. This is the opening of the ceremony where you have Miriam Adelson, the biggest contributor to Donald Trump's campaign, $500 million contributor, Zionist contributor to make Israel first. She's going to introduce her good friend, Pamela Bondi, and why Pamela Bondi is a perfect selection for Miriam Adelson. Oh, I mean Trump. It's for selection for
Donald Trump.
Did I say Miriam's selection? I didn't mean that. She's just a donor.
I thought you were saying Marco Rubio. That's the best selection from Marianne Allison.
That's the best selection from Marianne Allison. Yeah. But here she goes. She's going to introduce it at the IAC summit in Florida. Here we go.
Under her leadership, the Department of Justice has made combating anti-Semitism a top priority, especially in response to the alarming rise in incidents following October 7. She brings moral clarity, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to justice to this critical fight. Please welcome my friend, the 87th Attorney General of the United States, Pamela Bondi.
Oh, so emotional.
Miriam Adelson is amazing. What she has done for Israel, for our country, and for this world is second to none. Thank you, my friend. The sad truth is, for way too long, anti-Semitism has been allowed to grow unchecked in this country. Too many institutions have abdicated their moral responsibility to speak up. Too many so-called leaders have stayed quiet. Actions have consequences, and inaction has consequences too.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
This can't be good.
We've sued violent protesters under the FACE Act for intimidating Jewish Americans worshiping at synagogues. This is the first time since its passage, the FACE Act in 1994, that it has been used to protect a house of worship.
I've never seen that ever. Protesters intimidating people at worship. What? That's not a thing, but okay. All right, whatever you say.
Well, it's a thing with the Israelis kind of breaking up all these all the things in the places of worship, the mosque in Jerusalem and everything. That's where it's really taking place, and that's happening with American funding and everything. So, it's just a projection of what they're doing. They project on everybody else. That's exactly what the Zionist forces do.
And to be clear, when they talk about the synagogue thing, we saw this here in LA. It's where they're doing auction. They're auctioning out Palestinians' houses in the West Bank, and in those auctions, you show up. They're not worshiping anything. They're there on an off day, buying up property that's not theirs and auctioning it off. So the protesters show up, and then it gets misplaced. It gets misreported. Obviously, that they're upsetting people that are trying to worship. No, you're upsetting people who are trying to steal land. And they do it in their synagogue. That's when they do it. And so that happens here. There's a spot they do it right here, Pico and Robinson, and the protesters got doxxed for showing up to that and saying you can't do that. Anyways, she got a few more words here of interest.
Secretary Linda McMahon, who has been a champion for you as well, and Harmeet, we have secured a $200 million settlement with Columbia University for violating the civil rights of Jewish students.
Wow.
And Jewish employees. We've secured a $75 million settlement with Northwestern University for anti-Semitic conduct. We've secured a $60 million settlement with Cornell that includes provisions to halt anti-Semitic conduct. And we've launched a full investigation into University of California's system for systematic anti-Semitism.
Wow. A full investigation, Craig, full investigation. The Miami Herald reports that this is not just Bondi. They're letting the local reader know that everybody came here. It was not just a right-wing MAGA event. Bondi and Wasserman Schultz, both sides of the aisle, were vowing to protect Jewish community at this pro-Israel summit. I didn't see too much coverage on this on the national level. Only from this Miami Herald and a few others that put it out there. But I don't think they don't, for whatever reason. Maybe it's a tough one to put out there because it's like, wait, so they're all in on it. That's what they're saying. Yes, Pam Bondi.
I'm sure Motzkowitz was there too from the Democrats.
Motzkowitz was there. Yeah,
sure he was in Florida. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they were speaking in front of a packed ballroom at a Hollywood beach resort, that's Hollywood, Florida. Bondi touted the Trump administration's crackdown on anti-Semitic and anti-Israel acts, while Wasserman Schultz reassured attendees that the Democratic Party remains largely pro-Israel, despite some far-left dissenters. And here's W. Wasserman telling us on the stage how she can commit the Democratic Party, make sure that this is not a bipartisan, or this is not a partisan issue. We're all in on this together. She's telling us this.
We have a problem generationally whether they're Republicans or Democrats or independents, the next generation of Americans, the next generation coming up behind us, does not understand the importance of a strong Israel, an Israel that should always remain a Jewish and democratic state. And they don't understand that we as a people have contributed boundless significance and impact in countries across the globe. Anti-Semitism is growing, and there are young people who believe that the Holocaust never happened, an astonishing percentage, that it wasn't 6 million, that it was a number far fewer. We have to make sure that we are creating educational opportunities and bringing young people together across the divide, cultures and religion, to make sure that we don't have a generation, as we lose our Holocaust-era survivors, that we don't have a generation that believes that there is something wrong with the Jewish people and who fosters instead of fights anti-Semitism. That's a commitment we all have to make to one another and reach across the divide in many different cultures and communities. So thank you so much.
That deserves a big round of applause. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you, everyone.
We're reaching across the divide. We're doing it. Wow. Anything stick out here? This is exactly what we expect from someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're bringing on KELLEY LANE today, right, to have some conversations about elections. Kelly and I are closely tied to that election, 2 elections with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Tim Canova. I often think about who was really cheating for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We knew somebody was in the bag for her. Somebody was helping her out. But it makes me wonder as I see more of this today, and I kind of think like her seat was always safe, that, you know, Israel and the Zionists are going to protect her, right? And so maybe they had a hand to play in cheating for her elections. I don't know, right? For sure. We know there was a lot of fugazi business going on. The math didn't make sense at all. But we didn't know who the culprits were. And that's something we don't know all the time, because a lot of times, you know, a lot of people like to blame the machine makers themselves, whether it be Dominion or ES&S and Smartmatic. But the truth is, a lot of the software capabilities are handed off to the legislation. And the legislative body has control of that. So it's not, you know, it's like when you give somebody a gun, you don't, the Smith & Wesson maker of the gun is not the one you blame. Sometimes you blame the person who pulled the trigger. So it makes me wonder about who was cheating for her back in the days to protect her seat, and her seat is still protected to this day. And think about it. She was the most unpopular congresswoman out there, and yet she still has her seat, Matt. So it makes me wonder. It makes me think, but kind of affirms my suspicions about her seat and who's protecting her. Because there's been a lot of Israeli Zionist, I should say, entities involved with certain elections out there and have the capabilities. They bragged about it. Certain, security companies, Zionist security companies have bragged about it before. So this kind of connects the dots.
It certainly does, and it does make us rethink our suspicions of the Democratic Party, that they go further than we ever thought. We knew they were corrupt. We knew we talked about Seth Rich. We've talked about the leaked emails of the Hillary buying that nomination. Debbie Wasserman Schultz standing behind that, even when that tell-all book came out by who was it? Did the tell-all book said, "Hey, yeah, we rigged the election for Hillary."
You're talking about oh my God, I can't remember.
Brazil.
Donna Brazil.
Donna.
Yeah, Donna Brazil.
So so it's all it incriminates Debbie in that, but it incriminates all of them. And you're asking, maybe there's more to it than she just barely dodged a bullet, and she had protection from the party. She had protection outside of that party. I think you're fully onto something here, Craig. And this leads into our next clip, because it seems like Miriam Adelson herself has information that she is not willing to share. And she tells the audience this when she's asked point blank, what other than giving money to candidates, what else do you do to assure the support for Israel? What else do you do, Miriam? And she will not answer the question, but watch her mannerisms. She's got a lot to say that she won't say. And this might be exactly what you're getting into here, Craig. And we're going to have to do some more investigation on this, because they're not going to, this is the part they won't say out loud. Check it out.
You and Sheldon created a lot of relationship over the years with politicians at the state level, especially at the federal level. I want you to share with everyone, why is it so important, and how do you do it? Again, writing checks is part of it, but there is more than writing just checks. So how do you do it?
Can you allow me not to answer?
You choose.
If you guys missed it, she said, "Can you allow me not to answer?" And he says, "That's your choice. Whatever you want to do, you're in charge. You have the mic. You say whatever you want or don't want. We're here. We'll support whatever you want, however you want to answer it. Here you go. Go ahead."
I want to be truthful, and there are so many things that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want specific, but that's okay. But everyone should know here how important it is to get involved, because the reason that both of you were able to make huge differences is because you got involved. And you spent a lot of time and yes, money, a lot of money on it, but you got involved and you cared. And that's what everyone here need to know, that, you know, complaining and doing nothing is not going to get us anywhere. And you guys have done completely the opposite. So thank you both.
There's a lot I want to say. So she's saying, I want to be truthful, but there's a lot that I don't want to talk about aside from giving money to particular candidates and elevating their campaigns. So what is that? Craig, what do you think she means? I mean, we're just speculating here, but what is she talking about? What else does she not want to say, but she wants to be truthful, and that's why she did not answer the question, really?
I mean, we can elaborate on anything, right? We can, we don't know what it is, and that's why she didn't give us an answer and stuff like that. But obviously, you know, with one of the biggest spyware countries around that has more spyware than anything, I mean, if you believe what you're doing is justified, right, then you'll do anything to get that done, right? Even cheating, even defrauding, even fixing an election. So it could mean anything. And I think that's why she was smart enough to keep her mouth shut, because she didn't want to give a hint about anything. She couldn't even give a bullshit answer there. And that's what's kind of crazy to me. So it was one of those situations. And I would have said, I just would make sure that I talk to the people that are running and whatever. You make something up, but she couldn't even make it up because she didn't want to give even a little bit of a hint. But I'm sure it's pretty shady. And I'm also sure she justifies it.
She didn't want to make something up because there was a part of her that's proud of what she did, but she knows she's smart enough to know I can't say it. But I want you to know I did stuff. And that's where she gets the applause. She gets the applause not for making up some, hey, I just, I made some extra phone calls. I did some, because that wouldn't have been as exciting. She's saying, oh, wink, wink. I did some stuff. And I want you guys out here to know that. And I just am not going to say it, but I did some stuff. And you would be proud of me if you knew what I'm talking about. And that's where you get the applause. Because it means that she did anything it took. And that's why he ended it with that. He goes, I want everyone to know. It's that effort. Whatever that was, she won't tell us, but she did it. Whatever it took to get Israel to do what it needed to do, using our political system against us. And that's why Debbie Wasserman Schwartz is safe. And you're right. She's probably always been safe the whole time.
She knew that.
Yeah.
She's got a protected seat.
Yeah.
She's got a protected seat. I mean, she was the most unpopular congresswoman out there, and she had a very viable opponent in Tim Canova. Tim eventually forced her to have at least one debate, and if you ever go back and watch that debate, Tim just destroyed her in that debate. There's no way that Debbie Wasserman Schultz should have won, but she also has a protected constituency. Like, she has like the Western Russian oligarchs, that are anti-Putin, that live in Sunny Isle, that run like credit card vulture companies that do payday loans, right? That's like one of her donors. Like, she's so shady. She's got so many shady businesses and stuff. But yeah, I mean, doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. There's one more story I want to piggyback on this one that's important because it has to do with one of the cases that Pam Bondi brings up, and it comes to, and it brings us back to Florida for this other. So there's things. It's not just speeches. We're not just talking about getting together and congratulating yourselves for having everybody working so hard in these offices. These actual cases that they are sabotaging and not upholding justice and not looking into things, but just working on behalf of Israel, and people are suffering from this. Here's a case that Pam Bondi is referring to. And we're going to look at this case briefly here and get your thoughts on this. But yeah, she's very proud to tell us that she intercepted I guess you would say an incident, a hate crime, as she calls it, that happened at a college. And we have she was able to come in and have justice for the Jewish student, because that was the most important thing, that he had justice done for him. not the girl that was involved in this incident. So here, Pam Bondi's going to tell you what she did.
Story right here in Florida. You probably heard of it. It's not a crime of great violence, but in my opinion, it's a crime of great significance. I give college presidents my personal cell phone, and I say, if you need anything, call me. My phone rang one day. I was sitting in the office, and it was the president of Florida State University. And he said, something just happened. Yeah, a young woman, a student, threw her phone, cursed, attacked a young student, a young man, male student, who was playing basketball because he was wearing an IDF shirt. She was a student, he was a student. I spent the next few hours on the phone. I called my U.S. attorney, I called the state attorney, called law enforcement, and I guess she saw it went through the system as it should, and she now is kicked out of Florida State University. But little things are the big things, and that sends a strong message that you can't behave that way anymore in our country. You can't bully other students simply because they're Jewish. And you think they're better than they are. Not going to happen under Donald Trump's presidency.
Wow. Wow. So if you didn't know any better, you'd think, oh, that makes sense. Somebody attacking a Jewish student for being Jewish. I guess that makes sense. Kick her out of the college. Turns out.
Very American of them, by the way.
Turns out.
Bully. Well, did she put her hands on him or something? Did she hit him, Matt? Or did she just bully him with the words like AOC said that words are violence? What's the difference, Pam Bondi?
We're going to look at this in just one moment. I just want to first welcome Do Dissidents. They've rated our stream. Welcome you guys.
Rated?
Oh, yeah, we just got rated. Love you guys. Do Dissidents audience, if you're joining us for the first time, we're the Homeless Left. You guys can drop a like. We love that. And of course, the subscribe is great too, because you guys will get notified when we go live. And we appreciate that. We're the non-tribal approach to news. Doing the stuff in the space. We're not centrist. We talked about this earlier, Craig. We're not centrist. We're outside of the system, and we're calling out the two-party duopoly. We're calling out all of it, the propaganda, big pharma, the war machine, Israel, all the stuff that gets you canceled and terminated. But we don't mind. We keep doing it anyways. But thank you guys for being with us. I'm Matt Weinglass, Craig Pasta Jardula. We're covering the IAC Council Summit, which happened in Florida this past week. And this case that Pam Bondi was just referring to involves this girl. Let's see if it's coming up here. Her name is Eden Deckerhoff. And as of why isn't this going up on the thing? StreamYard is not letting me put this shared screen on here right now. That's weird. What I do have though is the actual footage. So this is what happened. For some reason I'm not able to share the article. But they did suspend her originally, and then when Pam Bondi got involved, she had her removed permanently from the school, and that's what everybody's applauding from in this clip. But here's the actual footage that was incriminating her. Now we're gonna watch this. It's very quick. It only rolled for 9 seconds. So what happened was the incident did not get filmed. Was him, this student in an IDF shirt who was harassing this girl, and then he decided to turn his phone on and start recording when he decided to calm down and pretend that he wasn't doing anything. And she got upset and tried to bash the phone out of his hand. So she swipes for the phone and she misses it and she grazes him on his shoulder. That's the extent to what happened. Here's the actual footage. And you look at his face. He looks totally calm. Why is he calm and she's so livid right now? Well, according to Pam Bondi, it's because she's racist and hates Jews, but really it's what you didn't see that happened before this. Here's the 9 seconds.
Israel, free Palestine, put it on fucking Barstool FSU. I really don't give a fuck. You're an ignorant fucking son of a bitch.
That's it. That's what got her terminated from the school. And you know that this is not something that happens. You don't just go up to people and start yelling at them. According to witnesses, he started the confrontation with her, and he had the IDF shirt on. When he got his phone out, that's when he started recording himself, when he was looking calm and like he wasn't doing anything. And she unfortunately decided that she would swipe at his phone, bad move on her end, it turned out to be assault and a hate crime and all that stuff that Pam Bondi and all those people in that room were just laughing about and saying, yeah, that's serves her right. The crime of hating Jews, which is what they're spinning this as. So that's too bad. That's what happened to her. One example, but many more coming from there. And the fact that this event took place in Florida, this happened in Florida State University to this grad student. Her name was Eden Deckerhoff. She won't be graduating from that school because of that 9 seconds that he filmed. That's it. So maybe a lesson to the rest of us. Please avoid contact at all costs, no matter what. It's certainly a lesson. If the contact's going to happen, it has to be initiated by the other party. You can't initiate any contact, even if you're trying to grab at something or swipe something out of someone's hand. That's what she tried to do, and it backfired on her, unfortunately. But being in Florida here, there's one more thing that needs to be mentioned, because this is all happening at the same time, and I don't think it's a coincidence, Craig, but at the same time of this conference, at the same time of this girl getting expelled from Florida State University, another thing has come into play in the state of Florida, and this is because of Ron DeSantis, and it's a hate speech law that he put into effect just now. He signed it about 3 years ago, and now it's gone into effect. And this is where the policies in the UK have now caught up to us. When we see police knocking on doors of people who are posting stuff that in this case, the governor doesn't like. So this is what we just found this out. Florida had passed this unconstitutional hate speech law in 2023. So it's almost 3 years ago that it signed into law by DeSantis, and he was in Israel when he signed it. Now, less than 3 years later, Miami Beach police are going door to door, asking American citizens about social media posts that are clearly protected speech under the First Amendment, and they're telling us to plan accordingly. Here's a video of this happening to a woman in Florida, in South Beach, who got a talking to for a social media post that apparently Ron DeSantis and the Israeli lobby didn't like. Here we go.
That you were not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present. So I really don't know how to answer that question either.
Well, like I said, you're not
this
going
is
to jail.
freedom of speech. This is America, right?
And
Veteran.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay. All
We're
right.
just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person
Okay,
is.
how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way. Even leaves the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
You don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning.
The concerning part are those clown faces. Those are the most dangerous part. 3 clown faces. Don't ever, guys. That obviously means you want hate and you want violence. So watch out for those clown faces. But no, go on. Tell us how hurtful and hateful and harmful this post is.
For the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Understood.
Oh my God. So the thing that they're trying to, so this is the whole point. We're here because we want to make sure that somebody else reading your post isn't agitated by it. We want to make sure that there's no one out there that agrees with you, or you might be changing minds of people. We don't want social media to be for that. You can't change people's minds with a idea or a thought or just something that's off the top of your mind and a couple emojis. Can't do that. Somebody might actually respond to that, and we don't want that. So that's the actual crime he's telling her is what their concern is and why they're at her door right here.
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. And we wanted to get your side. If it was you that posted that, I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that could get something incited.
I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay.
That's it?
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my my amendment rights to not answer the question about what happened. I hope that's
Thank you for your time.
understandable.
We appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
You as well. Thank you. Take care.
You don't have the right to harm other people with your meetings. When you want people to destroy Israel, that matters.
Could you?
That's Florida.
It's pausing. I couldn't hear any of that. I got cut up. Play that last guy.
They tagged it on at the end. This is the Florida lieutenant governor telling us that, you know, wishing any harm on Israel in any way, shape, or form needs to be punished. Basically.
Yeah, let's hear it.
To harm other people
Wait.
with your.
Wait, hold on. I'll start it here.
Thank you as well. You as well. Thank you. Take care.
You don't have the right to harm other people with your words, and you don't have the right to say things that have really negative, really horrible meanings. When you want people to destroy Israel, that matters.
Yeah.
You are exactly. That's the First Amendment. You are allowed to be harmful and damaging with your words if you hurt people. This is fucking just bonkers where we are at in this world right now, that this guy can say this and he's the lieutenant governor. Dude, have you ever heard of the First fucking Amendment? Seriously, dude. I mean, we have gone so far down the road, and these people are showing they're showing. Miriam Adelson in the beginning of this whole segment showed you, plain and simple, she told you that she owns your country, that she's bought you off, right? Pam Bondi comes out there, confirms this shit. Now you have the lieutenant governor after this fucking clown show with the guy saying this could be a really harmful fucking thing. You sound worse than the leftists like AOC who said words are violence. I mean, this is just fucking beyond psychotic at this point right now where we're at. We're not in America anymore, I guess.
Yeah. And
wow.
I don't think it's a coincidence that this IAC summit is happening in Florida at the exact same time that this finally went into effect. Again, he signed this, DeSantis signed this in 2023, probably right after October 7th. That was the point, that you signed this thing. He's now implementing it. This is the first we're seeing, unless there's some people that this happened to that we didn't have footage from because they didn't film it.
Maybe. And who knows how much they've been spying and looking and you know, infringing on your civil liberties. And let me tell you something. DeSantis has a history of doing this. Before he was the governor and he was a congressman, he has a history of taking away your civil liberties and your freedom of speech at the behest of Israel. He was one of the initiators of this shit right now. This guy is an Israel first type of guy, and people should be freaking, they should be throwing freaking rotten tomatoes at him, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to put that there was one we saw from Texas. I don't have it on me, but Nahum says that dude in Texas knew how to deal with it. He was a lot. I don't know if you remember that one, Craig. You remember the Texas guy that came up to him outside his house? This was about a month ago. And they said, we were just checking on the social media post. And he was like, get the F off my property. You get the fuck out. That's what he did. And it was cool that you got to hold your ground when these people come knocking.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm glad you used that dude in Texas as an excuse and not freaking the dude in fucking New Hampshire, Jeremy, whatever his name is, that idiot libertarian that I can't stand, who's a racist asshole. But yeah, I'm glad you used the guy in Texas. You get fuck off there. I'll talk to you. I'll use you one-on-one, but this asshole needs to go. I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is what we saw. We saw this happen in the UK first, right? A lot of our viewers they're from the UK. They can tell us that this is something that's been going on for the last year, at least year or two, since October 7th. They've been knocking on the door saying, you got to go. And they've been worse there, but we're going to get there. That's what's happening next. They're not going to let people they're not going to say, hey, well, have a nice day. We'll see you later. They're going to bring the cuffs next time, because it's just a matter of just getting us used to this and other Americans seeing this and seeing it on their feed and going, oh, well, that's not me. So I guess I'm cool. And we know that that's how people think, because they're doing this right now about Minneapolis right now. Well, that's not, it looks kind of cold there with all that snow. Wow. Those people getting pulled out of their houses. Oh, I'm glad that's not me. That's not happening here. So I'm good. So it's going to keeps justifying as we go from neighborhood to neighborhood, knocking on a door, arresting you for social media, or just knocking on the door because you're not white and they want to take you in for questioning. This is where we're at. This is Make America Great Again. This is where we're at, Greg. It's unbelievable.
I love what somebody put, like, pasta, that's not right, because you're going to hurt the tomatoes you throw at these people, and that's not fair to the tomatoes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love. There it is.
I like when Gordon Dimmick say, "I wouldn't call this a kangaroo court because it'd be an insult to kangaroos."
Oh man. So, and this is also of worth of note. We know that the cops in the USA are trained by Israel, so we know that that's a thing. That's a thing. And the ICE agents are starting to get that training as well, as we know. We've come to learn that as well. Of course they are. That's how it works. Hey, so I got a word from Kelly. We'll have another. I think she'll be at the top of the hour with us now. So unfortunately, that was another little. Where's the? I see your light, man. You shining it. What's up? What's up?
Nothing. I just.
Was that? Am I missing the reference?
No. There's no reference. I just put that on when I heard that Kelly wasn't going to be here on time and stuff. Like, come on.
That's okay. If you're down to do one other one with me,
let's do one other one.
Okay. This is you might like this because we haven't actually done this. I still need to work out a jingle for this one. But you remember the apologies long overdue?
Yeah.
So we were gonna do this one before, but we had those other two we did instead, and then this kind of got set aside. But I think it's time to do one. And this segment for this one is actually long overdue. We're gonna do one on Scott Adams because he passed away a week ago. And I think it's safe at this point. We can look back at what happened in those final moments, starting with his apology. But let me just set this up real quick because I didn't know we were doing this one right now. But I think this will be a good one. Let's see. Here we go. Give me 1 second. And while I'm setting this up, another welcome to the Do Dissidents group, guys, coming in here. What do they call, Craig? What do they call the dissident? There's a name for them. There's a
dissidenters.
Dissidenters? No.
Descendants. I think he calls them dissidents, right? Well, guys, what do they call you guys? Put it down there in the chat.
Out, guys.
Right?
What is it? So yeah, help us out with that.
Yeah, where is the face palm emojis? Where do they go? I don't know. Dissidents.
Yeah. Okay.
We appreciate you guys being over here too as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go. Let's do with the Scott Adams bit because I held this out last week. Okay.
Dirtbags, they're called. We got it. Thank you.
No, come on. That's not right. I'm not gonna put that. Well, I'll put
less. No, don't put that up.
I'm not putting that one up. That's not cool.
We call them the dirty. That's what I call them.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome anyways, guys. We love when you join us here. And we're not sure if Do Dissidents covered this one. So we're going to cover this. I don't think anybody has gone to this one. This is if you want a story on Scott Adams, you came to the right place. We call this segment Apologies Long Overdue. And this is Scott Adams versus the Anti-Vaxxers. Let's start with the breaking news from a week ago when we actually broke it on the show when it first came out right at the end of our show last week. We found this out. Scott Adams, Dilbert creator and conservative commentator, dies at 68. The artist told fans in May that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Hundreds of papers dropped his cartoon. And this is what NBC wants to tell you to know. He needs to be known for racist comments, apparently, that he made, which got him to lose a lot of followers back in 2023. And
not the fact that he took the vax.
They won't talk about that. NBC, you're not going to get any coverage on the vaccine. You're not going to get anything. They're even saying he told his viewers, his fans, that he had diagnosed with prostate cancer. They're not even looking into that. They just want you to know that the guy did something racist. And you know what? We'll just show you what that is real quick, just to get that out of the way, because it's really ridiculously this is a misdirect. This is not what he should be known for at all. Just so you guys, just to get this part out of the way, this is what NBC wanted you to know was his legacy, was that he was part of this he was reporting on the Rasmussen reports that came out that gave everybody a percentage breakdown of whether you agree. Everybody was asked this question: if you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white. And the Rasmussen report, and it's a conservative outlet that did this poll, they found that 72% of people, including 53% who are black, and then 26% of Black respondents had disagreed, but 53% of them said, 21% said they are not sure. And the poll found that 79% of all respondents agreed with the statement that Black people can be racist too. The statement, "It's okay to be white," has been repeated on right-wing websites. So here's where Scott Adams got canceled. It was for this, because he says, he goes on his podcast and says, it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white. He added he would re-identify himself as white, because I guess he's been identifying as Black before that, which is very strange to identify as a different race. It's weird. But he says, I'm going to go back from being helpful. It doesn't seem like it pays off. I get called racist. That's the only outcome. So it's over. I don't even think it's worth trying anymore. And he means in regards to helping the Black community. And he says, I'm not saying to start a war or do anything bad, nothing like that. I'm just saying, get away, just get away. So he got canceled for that. That was pretty harsh for whatever reason. You can't talk about, reacting to a poll. And he says, I don't want to help out the community anymore. So he got, actually, I missed that bottom part. This is important. Wait, where did it go? There was one that said that, this side, this is what, so at the bottom here, you see this, the Anti-Defamation League has denounced it as a hate chant if you say it's okay to be white. So that's important that the ADL was on the side of canceling Scott Adams. They were on the side. They said, you can't say it's okay to be white. That's a hate chant. So just so you know, you guys know the players in that. So that went down, but that's not the thing that we're looking at with Scott. We're looking at the moment when he realized that he had made a mistake. And the mistake we're referring to is getting vaxxed, the COVID vax. He regretted it later. He did it in around 2021 when a lot of people did. 2 years later, in January of 2023, Scott Adams put this video out. And this is technically his apology. I don't know. You guys determine whether this is an apology, but it's certainly an admittance. And he's referring to anti-vaxxers by reference, saying, you got it right. You won. I lost. Here we go.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you that the anti-vaxxers appear to be right. Somebody who did not get vaccinated, got a little Omicron, or maybe even a worse one, but recovered. Now you've got natural immunity, and you have no vaccination in you. Can we all agree that that was the winning path? The smartest, happiest people are the ones who didn't get the vaccination and are still alive. I want to make sure that I'm not leaving any wiggle room for myself. Have I? Have I said as clearly as possible they're the happy ones right now? And have a reason to be, completely. Right. Having said as clearly as possible that the anti-vax people seem to be the winners, I want you to hear that clearly. The anti-vax people appear to be the winners. The anti-vaxxers clearly are the winners at this point, and I think it'll probably stay that way. And I don't want to put any shade on that whatsoever. They came out the best. They have the winning position. The unvaccinated have a current advantage because they feel better. The thing they're not worrying about is what I have to worry about, which is, I wonder if that vaccination 5 years from now, because really the anti-vaxxers, I think, were really just distrustful of big companies and big government.
So he said if he has to worry 5 years from now, well, he did have to worry, but he was wrong. It wasn't 5 years; it was 2 years, which is pretty sad that he kind of predicted his own demise there. But he's giving credit to anti-vaxxers for being right, almost in a way where it was by luck. That's what I'm getting from this. Like, you were lucky.
Yeah, because he's even mentioning the fact they didn't do it because they did it because they had distrust. They didn't do it because they did their own research and understood that this was the best avenue for them to go. It was all about distrust.
Yeah.
And he's leaning on that. It was more than distrust. Distrust is what made us start looking into it. It's what we found out after, because that stemmed from our distrust, is the reason why we didn't take it. So,
yeah. And he's going to refer to this again, and that he'd done the work and anti-vaxxers did not. Here it is.
That's never wrong. It's never wrong to distrust government. It's never wrong to distrust big companies, right? So if you just took the position, let's just distrust everything the government did, well, you won. You won. You won completely. I did not end up in the right place. Agree? You would all agree with that, right? I did not end up in the right place.
That's kind of morbid now hearing this. It's pretty wow. I did not end up in the right place. Despite all the charts and graphs that he was showing all of his, fans for that entire period of time where everybody was tuning into their favorite people to say, what are they going to do? I'm scared. I don't know if I want to take this thing. Let me see what people that I look up to, let's see what they're going to do. Oh, Scott Adams has charts and graphs. He's showing me that it makes sense that I do this. And now he's telling me, fast forward, to 2 years later, because that was 2021, fast forward to 2023, he's saying, you know what, never mind my charts and graphs. I got it wrong. They got it right. Just because they had a feeling. I had statistics, they had feelings, and their feelings beat out my statistics, so they won. So he's all off here. It's completely off. Even to use the word win. What do you mean win? As if this was a game? It's not a game. Everybody, spoiler alert here, everybody lost. Everybody lost. Okay. Whether you took it or you didn't take it, everybody lost here, Craig. If you didn't take it, there were 3 ways to do that. What were the 3 ways? First way is you lose everything, right? You lose your job, your relationships, you lose everything. What's the second way? You can fake it and pretend you did it. Now you're compromising moral, your moral compass, and you're not being, you're not, being courageous enough. Maybe, who knows? That's debatable, but you're losing. And then I guess I'd say the third way is that you succumb and you do it. But I think the point is that we all know, everybody knows people that did it and didn't do it, mostly people that did it. And so we're all affected by that. People that know Scott personally, and now he's no longer here, are affected by the fact he's no longer here. So I wouldn't consider them winners. If he had any family members that didn't do it and he did, I wouldn't consider his family members that are alive right now winners. Nobody won. So I think he completely missed the point. Do I even need to ask you, is this even worth an apology? Is this sincere? Is this real, or is it fake?
That apology seemed very not really sincere, right? Yeah. It seemed more like about, fuck you, you won. You know what I'm saying? It seemed very condescending, the way he was laughing and stuff. It was just, I didn't look at it as a sincere apology when I heard it. And I watched that live, I think, or right that same day it happened. So, I didn't consider it sincere, and I still didn't to this day, and it is a shame what happened, you know what I'm saying? Because if this was a result of the vaccine, even though Scott Adams was a douchebag, I don't think anybody deserved to die. In an accelerated manner, the way we see a lot of, at least information that we should be talking about and having conversations that we're not even allowed to have. Yeah.
No, nobody deserved this. But
if in fact that's the reason why he went, we don't know, right?
We have enough. You and I can't say it for sure. We're not professionals. Yeah. We're not, medical experts. But
the fact we're not allowed to talk about it is the issue.
Yeah, that's right. We're not allowed to talk about it. But there are medical experts that did have something to say about this before he passed away. And this, if you want to talk about cryptic now after the fact, Paz, this actually does send a shiver up my spine that Dr. William Mackius put this out in November. This is what he put out in November. This is 2 months before Scott Adams passed away. Breaking news, they killed Scott Adams. Wow. Very cryptic. And what he's saying here, he says the drug cartel has sacrificed Scott Adams with the treatment that he was allowed to cut in line for. So let's get this straight. November 2nd, Scott Adams announces publicly that he is suffering from terminal stage 4 cancer. And he immediately reached out to Trump to save his life. He reached out to RFK Jr., Don Jr., so many others, including Dr. Mackius. So he was on the list. He was part of this discussions. So I would say off the bat, and we covered this on the show at the time, this audacity, this elitism that you can cut the line from everybody else that's suffering and just cut right to the front of the line and say, help me live. I'm Scott Adams. I get to live. Please help me. Whatever, as Joe Rogan says, throw the kitchen sink at me right now. Right. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately what happened was, and so this is him putting this out. He says that Trump offered me help if I needed it. Well, I do need it. As many of you know, and this is an official announcement. I've contracted prostate cancer. My healthcare provider, Kaiser in NorCal, approved the application for newly received FDA-approved drug called Pluvicto. Now, Pluvicto is another pharma drug that wants to make a bunch of money off of people that are suffering from whatever injury or whatever cancer, a rapid cancer they might be suffering from. And it's not fully checked out. And so he's saying I'm declining fast. So he knew this in November. I'm declining fast. I'll ask Trump if he can get Kaiser to basically cut me in line. That's what I need to be, because there's so many people that need this. I want it first. I'm Scott Adams. I get to have it first. Can you please just make it happen with Kaiser? And they did. He did. He got to go right to the front. There he is. Big old smile. He's suffering a lot there. But according to, so it was Dr. Pat who helped him facilitate these drugs that he then got 6 treatments for right away. Pluvicto. So he's all excited about Pluvicto. Now, you had people like Dr. Mathis who were telling him that's the wrong medicine. It's not actually what you need right now. And he goes on here. And if we have a moment here, I just want to talk this through, because this came out before he died. And he's telling us that he received that this was not actually going to help him, was actually going to kill him. And this is not our assessment, but this is an assessment from a medical professional who said that by giving Scott Pluvicto and Antifa, they let this cancer drug cartel basically alter, as an alter of big pharma. He's saying it was like a sacrifice because this was not the correct treatment. He's saying he helped develop Pluvicto, but it wasn't the right treatment for the time of Scott's, where he was in the failing of his system. You don't want to be taking it at that point. So he was warning Scott to not listen to this, even though the drug is great. Apparently, FDA sat on the technology for 20 years. And they were afraid it would compete with chemo. So they scooped up a $20 million startup and that owned Pluvicto for $2 billion and bought the rights to it. So Novartis is who got the rights to Pluvicto. And now this is again, back to the elitism, Craig. You have this drug now for $100,000 to $150,000 per treatment. And of course, this doctor was given to free. Scott Adams got it. He got to cut the line and get this treatment, which was out of pocket for him. But he had the money, of course, because you're elite, living in a higher echelon of access. You get to afford this, right? So, yes. But again, it was the wrong medicine. And according to Macus, they knew it, and that was it. So Dr. Pat was the one that recommended this drug. He was made famous on Tucker Carlson. But he also owns BioShield, which makes Antifa. So he was pushing his own drug as well. That's what the speculation here, that there was maybe some interest from Dr. Pat. But and this is what it comes down to. The reason why it didn't work is because it's supposed to, this drug is supposed to stimulate the immune system, attack the cancer better. That's usually fine, but maybe you get some benefit. But the problem is that Scott Adams was severely COVID vaccine injured, according to him, not us. According to him, we knew the COVID jab damages the immune system. So Scott's T cells were all damaged, and you can multiply damaged cells and expect them to start. You can't multiply damaged cells and expect them to start working. That's the rub there. That's what you can't do. You can't just multiply the bad cells. It's going to have the opposite effect. And so if these T cells and NK cells may also be producing the Pfizer or Moderna spike protein, and you will now potentially be multiplying the T cells being created by the spike protein. So this is the opposite. This kind of reminds me of remdesivir, kind of reminds me of the ventilators. You're giving the opposite treatment, which is going to have the opposite effect. That's worse than no effect, right? That no effect is bad enough, but to have the opposite effect that will actually kill you. This is what Scott was warned of, but he didn't care. He listened to it anyway. Did Dr. Pat, this is just a question, did Dr. Pat test Scott Adams for spike protein production? Well, he says, of course not. Dr. Pat did he test him for T cell or NK cells for function of spike? Of course not. Again, that's his opinion. Did he give Scott Adams the drug blindly? Looks like he did. He got the combination of Pluvicto and Antifa, and which equals 2 week plus potential disaster, which is creating more spike protein, which then ultimately, as we know, is not good to have in your body at all. It's a spike protein. So the treatment had virtually no chance of working. I can't see this as anything other than pure evil and a move to protect the cancer drug cartel at all costs. So I just want to throw that out there, that these conversations are all happening. And it seems like, again, the top of that article and that tweet that he shared is pretty telling, that he would that Dr. William Mack has pushed this out in November, just 2 months before Scott passes away, and he's saying that they killed Scott Adams. I think it's pretty dark and pretty twisted. But at the end of the day, this is the barometer which we have. Somebody even in an elitist position getting to cut the line, given apparently the wrong treatment, predicted his own demise, had this kind of shitty ass apology about the thing he got wrong. It's quite a story, Craig. I think there's a movie here to be made about this guy. But man,
if it hasn't already been made,
Well, no, I don't think it has. I think that if you make a movie about Scott Adams, you pull an NBC and you make it about the racist thing that cost him his following. You see, do you understand? Yeah. So that's the story they want to tell. They don't want to tell this story. So I just threw that up at the beginning so people knew that's what's going around the general public.
Well, they knew where he was swinging when he was making those confessions about the fact that the people who did take the vaccine are the ones who are pretty much in a worse position than those who said no and got natural immunity. That's when they decided, all right, now we got to make sure we, disavow this guy completely. If we haven't already cut his nuts off, let's make sure that we get the job done completely and make sure that he's bastardized because of his, once again, his coming to Jesus moment, but,
and here's his final, he tried to do a live from the hospital bed just before he died, and it's kind of tragic, but I'll just show you. He cut it off. He said he can't do it anymore, and this was the it for him. This is up in NorCal Kaiser when he was getting this treatment that apparently didn't end up working after all.
All right, people, I'm not going to be able to go much longer. Venezuelan Navy is going to escort their tankers. All right, I got to go. Sorry. I tried. Got to go.
Sucks.
Pretty sucky. And the last thing he says, did you notice there's a sorry in there? Sorry. Yeah. I got to go.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
So there's your
experience, somebody dying from cancer too, as well. So it's just, it's really touching right now and stuff. Seeing people in those positions, nothing much to do, nothing they can do, It's funny because I don't want to say it's funny, but trying to convince that guy that his number one treatment should have been ivermectin and what is it called? Fenbendazole, whatever it's called.
It was hydroxychloroquine was the other one, right?
Yeah, but ivermectin and Fenben are now being used.
The other one. Yeah, you were supposed to do a combo. Right, yes.
Yeah. Dr. Mack is who you put up. One of his protocols was to use ivermectin and Fenben because he believes that it repairs the cells that have been damaged. So high doses of that. Trying to convince a guy like Scott Adams or Patch Adams, whatever he's called, who was so anti-ivermectin, so anti-vaxxer, right? Like he was so against those people and stuff like that. That would have been a hard sell too as well. That's kind of crazy. So
this is loaded one. This is more loaded than I thought it would be. So I know we're all affected in some way. I know you, like you just said, Craig, personally, you can relate to this. I guess I could say, at least Scott was willing to have some conversation about this, but is it wrong for us to say he didn't go far enough? At least he did something. Is that what are we supposed to say here? Are we supposed to say, hey, at least he went live with his people and said, I effed up. I regret doing something I did. At least he did that, and he did take a blow for that. You're right. They did. The timing of that was, let's make sure people don't like him anymore because we don't want people to see that acknowledgement. So maybe are we being too hard? Are we being too hard saying you didn't apologize hard enough because you didn't actually say sorry? He didn't actually say sorry. He said, I regret this. And
He was
win.
very sarcastic too, and when he it was a backhanded apology. So I really, you know what I'm saying, but it is what it is. I think that moving forward, that we need to continue to push for like conversations about what's going on. You know, I mean, one of my arguments out there, you know, I have a friend out there who kind of says, you know, sometimes that I don't recognize maybe the racism that's involved with our foreign policy enough. And I often talk about how this turned to be a military vaccination program, right? Like the military was involved with it, the whole process of it, you know, of containing it, whatnot. And I think that gives them a lot more wiggle room to lie and not be honest to the public and stuff. But I do believe this was a whole attack when it came to America. The most vulnerable group out there, the most trustworthy group, was white Americans, right? You know, the least trustworthy group when it came to the most hesitant were black males and black females, Latin males, and saying Latin females. White people, yeah, sure, go ahead and trust my doctor and, you know, put it up. So the vaccine itself, I think, was a situation where whitey had to go, right? Like white people were the main target on this as far as their cleansing project. And I honestly do believe that, you know, the oligarchs, the elites, even though they might give us more privileges so that we buy into their bullshit as far as white versus black people or white versus other people to make us feel like we're the chosen ones and stuff, they don't give a fuck about us either. We're useless eaters to them, and they'll happily get rid of a lot of us. There's too many of us on the planet as well. So it's not just a racist thing. It's a human thing. It's a class issue as well. So they don't care. You know.
Okay. Moving on. Let's switch gears here. Guys, well, if you're joining us late or whenever you came in, welcome to the Homeless Left. I'm here with Craig Pasta Jardula. We've been with you guys all afternoon here on the Homeless Left, non-tribal approach to news. We're covering all sorts of topics relating to the two-party duopoly, the capturing of our political system, the capturing of our media is why we're even here, is because we're trying to do real journalism, not propaganda, top-down bullying of people. Stay in your lane, don't ask questions. No, we're all about asking questions, having conversations. That's why we're here. And so, yeah, guys, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe. If you're just discovering us now, we welcome you to the Homeless Left. We're a community. We're not a tribe. A tribe, to join a tribe, you have to check boxes to get in the door. If you don't check those boxes, you're out. One of those boxes is you can't challenge your authority in that tribe. You have to keep quiet because you're putting a dent in the system, a crack in the dam. You're helping the other side. So that's not allowed in a tribe. In a community, you're allowed to do whatever you want as long as we're respectful to each other. That's it. That's really our only rule. But you're required. You're allowed to have your own opinion, your own take, your own ideology. It doesn't matter as long as you understand that we are just detached from the two-party duopoly altogether. We're detached from the propaganda machine. We're attached from the divide and conquer, and we're using our critical thinking skills once again. That's why we're here. So welcome to the Homeless Left, guys. Let's go ahead and bring in our other guest co-host today to help us with this next topic, big topic here. KELLEY LANE, welcome back to the Homeless Left.
Hello. Hi, Pasta.
Hey, Kelly. Haven't seen you since a couple weeks in New York.
Yeah, that was great. After how many years we actually got to meet in person?
Yeah. Just for a little bit before I had to get on a plane to go off and see our girlfriend Shanda.
I know.
I'm
so glad
who's battling. She's battling.
Yeah, I'm just so glad she's still fighting. She's in there. You know, it's good news. You never know. So, yeah, so it was great to see you, and that was a great event. Gosh, I think Garland Nixon really everyone that spoke was great at Diane Sayers' presidential run announcement. But I really love what Garland said about now being the time. And he said, you know, it reminded me of 2016 where we had Bernie and this populist movement. And I think for a lot of us, we've kind of seen, those of us that were a part of that, and we felt the burn, right? We kind of saw what was coming with Trump, right? And so when a lot of Democrats would say to me, they thought that all the Trump voters were kind of what you've got left now, because there's this big split now, right? With the Charlie Kirk assassination and then Renee Good's killing, you've got this split on the right. And I would say the really far right authoritarian people that are like, sure, keep ICE shooting people. It's kind of like, I feel like a lot of Democrats thought that all of Trump's voters were that. And I think that's very inaccurate, and that a lot of Trump's voters were listening to him, hoping he was going to be more anti-war, anti-establishment, and all of that. So these are awful things that have happened, obviously, but I do think there's something that can come out of it, because it is sort of cleaning that up, right? And we can see who's who now on that.
That we thought that he, and listen, I hope that he would be an outsider the same way I thought that Barack Obama was going to be an outsider. But what happens when they get in, they show you that they're not outsiders. They're actually insiders who are duping and lying to you to get to that position. And you have to look at their history. You have to see where they come from. With Donald Trump, it was very obvious and very evident. You know, his mentoring from Mickey Cohen, I believe, is that his name, years ago, the guy who was the Epstein before Epstein, you know, these elites of sorts that would blackmail people and be very close to the state of Israel. I mean, he showed you that he was that type of person. So, you know, I hate to quote Hillary Clinton, but when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. I know she was quoting somebody else, but too many people ignored that, right? And now here we're stuck with the situation today where we have the same old type of clown, and he has these followers the same way Barack Obama had these followers. I never thought the level of hero worshiping would ever be reached when it came to Barack Obama. But like I've told Matt before, and I've told my audience before, the Trumpers came in and said, hold my beer. We'll show you a level of hero worshiping that you haven't seen before, even beyond Barack Obama. And that's what we're getting at today. You know, people who are justifying pissing and shitting on the Constitution, are okay with breaking the law to uphold the law. That's supposedly everything they were against. It was all about, for me, make America great again. In my mind, was the thought process, okay, we're going to return to the rule of law, the Constitution. We're going to go back to that. We're going to be an anti-interventionist type of country, right? He was saying all these things about nation building being wrong and regime change being wrong. But, you know, he is serving the same masters that Barack Obama, that Joe Biden, that Bill Clinton had served before him, that Reagan, W. Bush Jr., Herbert Walker Bush, all serving the same people. In fact, I think that George Herbert Walker Bush probably was thrown out and didn't get a second term because he was a little critical of Israel at one point, and they said no. But this guy is like, beautiful, beautiful Israel, and he does whatever they say to do. He does.
Yeah. It's in French.
I'm sorry. I was going to cue this up here. If you could brief us.
Let's do that.
This is from the event you guys were at, right? With Dan.
Well, no, this isn't from the event, but it is. Let me set it up a little bit. And I do want to say, and actually, Pasta, I believe this was I made this clip a long time ago, like 2 years ago or so. And so I think this was part of a panel that you were on, where Diane, but you're not in this clip though, but so maybe you can speak more to this situation. I have not investigated further if there is any possible explanation for what she shows happens. I don't see how there would be, because it's literally her votes going down. But this was 2022, and so I wasn't, it's from the 2022 election, and I wasn't paying very close attention at that point to her race. So, I mean, I know all about the stuff now in Rockland County and the lawsuit that she's no longer part of. But this is just a clip I wanted to, I thought might be good to share, because you could speak on it more, Pasta, and also it shows that, and I think the very important thing to remember with election integrity is it's not, when someone says there's fraud, it's very difficult to prove that. But what we do know is that we can't prove the accuracy of the election. So there's always an opening for fraud. And so we're left with looking at what comes out the other end of the voting machines, right? And people will do all this speculating. But this was definitely very odd. And so, yeah, well, let you play it now. I hope that's good enough. And Pasta, you talk after.
Here we go.
You can see that it's in French. Who was in France? When I went to bed, I had actually 57,000 votes, I believe, so it had already come down some. And he started taking screenshots because he saw that somehow the more votes that came in, the fewer votes there were for Diane Sayre. And it continued, more votes came in, and I'm down to 51,000. More votes come in, and I'm down now to 29,000. votes. And you can see this is all public. It's all on television. Down to 27,000 votes. And unlike in Colombia, of course, in the US, we now have an election season. So they kept lowering my vote day after day after election day. And then I want to show this because it's sort of the most striking. So election night, Rockland County, where I live, I have 6,212 votes, which is 5.8%, which is very high for an independent candidate and is above the threshold in the state where you get party status if you're running for governor or president, which I wasn't, so it shouldn't have been perceived as a threat. A few days later, my vote has gone from 6,212 down to 282. And that is now 0.27% of the vote. And when I went to the Board of Elections to ask for a time-stamped count, what they gave me already, it had been all changed, and that was the maximum total that I had, 282 votes. Now, what I want to show here just for a second is what I discovered, is that there were a number of counties where it turns out they had a thing called blank votes, where they claimed people came in to vote, but it's shown here in the green column, no vote, but they didn't vote for U.S. Senate. And what's very striking is here, take Albany County, election night with 95% of the votes counted. I have 1,664 votes, 1.4%. Later, my vote goes down to 492, but the no vote is 1,684, almost the exact same number. But look at these other counties. Allegheny County, I have 258 votes. That gets reduced to 76, but the blank vote is 258, the exact number. Broome County, I have 1,102 votes. That gets reduced to 402, but blank vote is 1,102. Chautauqua, 592 gets reduced to 182, but the blank vote is 592, etc. I don't have to continue. In over 30 counties, my vote and the blank vote were swapped. Now, maybe you could argue in one county that this was a mistake, but to have it happen in 30 counties and have it be exactly precisely the very same number, I think would indicate an intent. Now, in New York, you do have a paper ballot. You fill in this little thing on a pencil. It gets put through a scanner, and all those paper ballots are inside the voting machine. But they're not counted at the polling place, and you can't get access to those pieces of paper. I think you have to actually be able to walk on water for them to allow you to review this. And because of their disbarring Giuliani for his defense of Trump election fraud charges, no lawyer wanted to look at this. I had a lawyer, a good lawyer, and he said, well, I think you only can make a case for this if you can get the vote totals by machine, go door to door, or I don't know what, and find that you had 8 people who voted at that machine, and the machine only showed 2 votes, and then you would have the basis. Now, that's virtually impossible, and plus people are scared anyway. So no one's willing to do this. And then I get questions, well, what are you doing about the vote fraud? Aren't you taking action? You're put in a situation where you can't get a lawyer to take action. The Board of Elections will not allow you to get the paper ballot to see this. And the theft has occurred in broad daylight, totally documentable in front of everybody's face.
Yeah. I remember that. And we talked about that too as well. And would you like me to unpack, or do you have some comments to say first? And maybe Kelly, you wanted to jump in and say something. But
I just want to say you can see why she got involved in the Rockland County lawsuit this last time around. And there definitely is something weird with the votes that, she had affidavits from neighbors, voters, who one of them I met, who said that they voted for and they weren't reflected in the count. But that whole lawsuit, I don't want to get into that tonight, but that's a different story. Yeah. But she removed herself from that lawsuit shortly after it was started.
Yeah.
Well, Matt?
No, how about Craig? Why don't you tell us what
okay.
You guys just did this event this weekend with how Diane's how her position is evolved from actually going through this 2 years ago and what she has, her eyes set on now based on that event? And also, like, what new discoveries are we learning about election integrity and how something like this they can pull off? And is there other stuff that we didn't know then that we know now? I guess it's a lot, but go ahead.
No. I mean, what we know now, what we didn't know then, still don't really completely know now because everything is protected. It's proprietary software more than anything. The votes that are counted, we just have to listen and take it on face value and say, okay. We can't see why. I'm sure they can make some excuses up for that particular election and say, oh, well, her votes weren't properly adjudicated. The machine shot them out, said there was something wrong with them. But obviously, it's kind of hard to hide that fact. I think somebody was tinkering it on the back end, obviously. And this is a problem we have with our elections in general. I don't want to say that Diane Sayre was completely open to the fact that when I said to her, Diane, when you run for president, you got to let us dive into this situation and take a look and unmask this whole situation. She didn't make any comment, but I think she is very well aware that the election system is fraudulent and it's not fair. And I think it's one of the most important things. I talked about it today with Daniel McAdams. If a country like Colombia or Venezuela or all these other countries that are under the threat of American imperialism can show and prove that their elections were fair, that they are actually participating in democracy, that should carry a long way with them having their national sovereignty and America not getting involved, right? If they can say, hey, our elections were fair, we picked somebody democratically, you have to let us be because you believe in democracy, then that should carry a lot of weight, okay? But the foreign policy apparatus, even the president, Joe Biden at the time when I was in Nicaragua doing my first election, were calling the elections unfair before they even one ballot was cast. Yeah. And that's what they're going to do, right? This is a very serious issue. We were just showing a video before you came on, Kelly, of your favorite Congresswoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now, we have a lot of history understanding elections when it came to Tim Canova and Debbie Wasserman Schultz's election. Tim Canova, whatever you think about him nowadays, his stance on Israel or not, was a very formidable opponent. He was a very strong opponent for the most disliked Congresswoman at the time in the House. Okay? Mm-hmm. But there were so many fugazi things that happened, and it's the system as a whole. It is so wrecked. New York, parts of Florida, parts of California, Hawaii. You could even get into the problems with Washington State. I mean, all these other places. There aren't a lot of places that have clean, sound elections, even in your red states, in your Lindsey Graham, your Mitch McConnells, your districts and whatnot. The system lacks so much transparency that they can basically move around the numbers and tell you what's going on. They are so sloppy when they do this, the way they report the numbers to the way they finalize the numbers, where Diane's, whoever was helping her out, looking at her, could take pictures of screenshots and show. I remember one of the primaries when it was Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden, and it was Texas. And Bernie Sanders had a lead. For every 10,000 votes that were coming in, Bernie Sanders was gaining about 2,000, 2,500 more votes than Joe Biden. So it means by 20,000 votes, he was up by 5,000 or, you know what I'm saying? It was growing. As soon as it hit 60%, it started flopping the other way. And Joe Biden started increasing his votes and gaining 3 times as many votes, if not 4 times as many votes, as Bernie Sanders. I was pointing out in real time that this is what we call a dump, right? Because you don't need voters to swing an election nowadays with the way the system's set up. You just need ballots. You hear what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? You don't need voters. You need ballots. 27 states now, it is legal to have ballot harvesting. That means you, Kelly, Matt, Les, anybody we talk about in the state of California and the state of Nevada and, other places, 27 states, you can bring in as many ballots and hand them in as possible. There's no limit to that, right? And when you have a situation like that, and for instance, I think it was in California, 85% or 90% of the ballots that were counted last election were all mail-in ballots. When you're going to have a system that the ruling class, the oligarchs, and it appears like people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz know and knew that their seats are protected no matter what. So they can do anything, say anything, and get away with it because they have a protected seat. The question is, who is protecting them? Now, I'm not one of these guys to go out there and go, Israel's the big brother to the little brother United States. I feel they walk hand in hand. And
You don't have to say it, Craig.
Right? No,
We're
I
saying it. Yeah.
I want to point that out before I talk about Debbie Wasserman Schultz speaking at an APAC-like or APAC-friendly, whatever, another Zionist stronghold situation. But it seems to me that she's spitting certain rhetoric, and she knows that her seat is protected, right?
Yep.
And we have a system that even if you have a chance to semi-audit it, and they never let you see the proprietary software, we can't open up the machines and look inside. This is something that Benny talks about. But he had gotten Benny Smith, who's a guy who worked for Deb Harris, whatnot. He coined the phrase fraction magic. He would point out, Matt, that in the mechanism of counting, that the weighted system, the algorithm that's pointed, which says 1.3% of the votes go to Joe Biden, 0.7% of the votes go to Donald Trump, whatever. That was a feature to what was going on. It wasn't a bug. There's no such thing as a glitch. The computers do what they're told to do. But our system is so far out of whack right now with very little transparency that the ruling class will always be in charge. And the thing to think about it is the way that all these Democrats got duped, and these leftist voters got duped into believing that, no, we have to have mail-in and votings and ballot harvesting because it helps minorities. If you don't do that, you're being racist. I mean, this is something that the social engineers understand, but those in charge will make sure that grassroots candidates, especially from the Democratic Party, never see the light of day and never defeat their Democratic AIPAC-funded Zionist candidates out there whatsoever. In other words, our system is so far out of whack. It is so bad from the distributing of ballots. I call them mail-out ballots because there is no chain of custody when all these companies that when they're contracted, there's these several companies called Runbeck, K&H is one in California. There's no chain of custody on who they can mail ballots out, who they can give ballots out to. So all these ballots are just floating out there. I think in Arizona, when it came to in Maricopa, when it was Christy Lake running against, I forgot that crazy woman who just won, they issued out close to 2 million ballots. Only 900,000 of them got turned in. So you literally have a state, a Maricopa County, a county in a state that has 1 million plus ballots just floating out there. And when you have a situation like that or a system that can do that, you'll never have a fair election. And we need to get back to the small, simple parts of the elections. I think right now, the area in which needs to be attacked more than anything is we need to eliminate mass mail-out balloting, mail-in balloting. We need to get back to at least, if you have more than 10% of your ballots are mail-in ballots, you're not going to have a fair election. You got states that have 80% mail-in ballots and stuff. We need to hack at that and start with that and ballot harvesting. Those are the two things I think that we have to hack at the next election, because it's going to take we, the people, going step by step, little by little, just like they did in Colombia, removing this operation, this program, or this situation in which the ruling class can take advantage of. We have to remove that remove this little by little each election until we get a fair election where they have public counting, day of voting. I mean, in Nicaragua, you have to show your license to go vote, right? So we can't do that here in the United States. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They thumbprint on your hand over there. There are certain things they do over there that have much more sound elections that we need to get back to. And it's going to be a long road ahead of us to get back to that. And I think, like I'm saying, for me, I'm targeting, let's get rid of this mail-in ballot situation, right? Let's at least hack it down. Let's get rid of ballot harvesting. Let's do that. Let's start there, and let's go from there. I mean, the Republicans, with their ideas, we need voter ID across the, I mean, yeah, but they're mailing in ballots and they're sending in ballots and ballot harvesting is legal. They'll just go around the voter ID situation. So we have a lot of work.
So we got a big news break. And I think possibly because you've been traveling and you might not have seen it yet. Matt, can you pull up the screen share I put up? It should be right on the section of my website that I have about election transparency. And that way people can go to this website if they want, or you can look up the Supreme Court ruling. I put it here at the top. So on January 14th, like last week, the Supreme Court ruled in Bost versus Illinois Board of Elections that federal candidates, this is huge. I mean, this really is huge. Federal candidates have standing to challenge rules governing elections prior to an election. And the
That's
reason
good.
I know this is huge is because there's like crickets from certain parts of the election transparency movement. But this is a big, because they start saying, oh, all the crazies are going to come out and start suing. Now, we do have a problem where there could be, we could end up clogging up the courts with people doing stuff. I'm sorry, but like Rockland County, which Diane, this time around, that Diane was smart to get out of, because that's another story. If we play the other clip, I'll explain it a little bit why that one is. There was a perfect explanation for what they call drop-offs. That was independent split ticket voting. But anyway, look into this, Pasta, because this is huge. This means that any candidate running for office can do something to get transparency. They can ask for the software code. They can ask for all kinds of things. So the guy, Bost, I think, B-O-S-T versus Illinois Board of Elections, this case was actually about counting because in Illinois they were counting the mail-in ballots after Election Day. And so he challenged that was against federal law. So the Supreme Court ruled on this. So it is very big news. And that is why, and please check out this nopeasants.org. We're starting on January 29th. Anthony Aguilar, who's running as a Green in North Carolina's 13th, will be our first candidate. And I'm going to have more. When we did candidates for Assange, we had over 70. So I'm hoping that we have at least that many. It is, off here, but hopefully we'll get enough candidates and get them on board with making smart decisions, not being fooled, but making smart decisions about which lawsuits might be something viable to say, hey, there's weird stuff going on here. I want more transparency.
Let me say this much too as well, because I understand when they're saying all the crazy is going to come up with some things. There are a lot of mistakes that were made by the right, especially when it comes to Sidney Powell and Giuliani in that last particular protesting of that election in 2020. I honestly believe that Donald Trump was in on the whole thing, and they did this on purpose, because this is the easiest way to split the country, is to say that your candidate was cheated, right? Then you become, that really goes deep into the social engineering of splitting the people in half and trying to force.
And they're doing it on the Democrat side too. That's what's happened since 2024.
And if anything seems like what's come out of this is after George W. Bush had cheated Al Gore in Florida, and he had cheated John Kerry in Ohio, it seemed like the Democrats said, okay, we're not going to provide more transparency and make it harder to cheat. We're just going to cheat better, right? And it was all the establishment doing it together, because remember, in the 2020 election, boys and girls, Joe Biden won the top of the ticket, but the Republicans won the coattails, and that's almost impossible. So, but that's beside the point.
So
I wanted to mention something, and I lost my chain of thought. The craziness from the right, Giuliani and Sidney Powell and a lot of the people there, is they did two things. They blamed illegal immigrants voting as a cause of one of their problems, when I can tell you in any election that I've ever analyzed, I've never seen illegal immigration swing an election a certain way. Clinton Curtis did some analysis of an election, and they found that 11 illegal immigrants had voted. But guess what? It was a mail-in ballot, so somebody else could have grabbed it and turned it in. It wasn't an in-precinct voting, so they didn't even have one illegal immigrant show up that can say, oh my God, you were voting, you weren't supposed to vote, right? Blaming Hugo Chavez was another issue that they had. Trying to blame somebody else for a vote flipping mechanism, in which Benny Smith had said, that's ridiculous. Clint Curtis had pointed out that he had talked to the Florida legislation before that election, 3 years before that Hugo Chavez election was there, and that he was approached about creating a flipping mechanism. So the fact that the right is still trying to blame illegal immigrants and the ghost of Hugo Chavez is a problem. Their xenophobia has clouded their brains to think straight, because they mentioned so many things that needed to be changed. In that particular election, showing up with ID to vote, they thought they would win if that would be the case, and they probably would. It would be the case. But to sit there and finger illegal immigration and Hugo Chavez is a problem in itself there, because too many people have run with that issue, that mindset.
So,
well, hey,
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm really sorry, because I was running really late today. But I actually have to jump off in just a minute for a meeting. And then I am hosting election security meetings every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. They're really open to anyone. I just like, I don't know, DM me somewhere on Twitter or something at Kelly's Words if you're interested, or Costa. I really would love it if you can join when you're ready. We have some good. We had Clint Curtis come on and talk recently, but I've got some IT security experts that join, and I pretend to be one. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like a basic, but any cybersecurity knowledge, but it helps now. But would you mind if we play this last clip? I think it's 2 minutes, but it's on my website, nopeasants.org, but it is about, if anyone listening has heard about something called drop-offs in the 2024 election. And I have honestly been furious about this because it started right after Trump won, and I understand a lot of Democrats were losing their minds, but I watched a lot of election security experts, Democrats, that I respect to be, objective and just look at the facts, come up with this thing. And some of them said, no, there's nothing to this, and smartly, sort of walked away. But too many of them stuck around and actually pushed this whole thing called drop-offs. And all it is a voting pattern that is now, with a recent Gallup polling that has come out, we see there are more independents than ever. 52%, I believe it is, across the country, or something like that. Anyway, it's on the website. But they were pushing that this pattern of split ticket voting, it started off being called bullet ballot. And then they called it drop-offs. Did you hear this stuff?
No, I went through this whole thing. We talked about this too as well.
We did.
Like,
but it's still
oh my God. Listen, I'm glad that they're thinking about certain things but it's their solutions. Like, their solutions, if they were like, we need to get rid of mail-in ballots.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
They're not doing that. They're not going back to simplicity and transparency.
All I'm saying is that I want the public to hear this, because it took off, it blew up. It was hundreds of thousands of people that believed this. And I'm over here going, why are you guys not speaking up? Those of you that know this is BS.
Confirmation bias. That's why,
I
Kelly.
know, but I'm talking about
confirmation bias. The Trump haters.
I know, but I'm talking about some people that are supposed to be not partisan, which is that's a red flag for me. Whenever I see non-partisan now, I'm like, yeah, right, okay.
But that's what election integrity is, Kelly, and you're right to point that out. It's not bipartisan. It's nonpartisan.
Well, it should be. It should be, but it isn't. Anyway, if you can play this, Matt, and I'm sorry you haven't gotten a word in, Matt. Go ahead.
Well, look, you guys know what we cover on the show is exactly what Craig just said. It's nonpartisan. We bring in people that have detached from both parties, and that's why we've been very much focusing on groups like We the People. Our co-host Jay Scott, you guys know very well, working in this arena where We the People isn't about bipartisanship. It's not about it's not even about a third party as much as it's about creating a space for people who have also detached from the system, and they're not going to have anything to do with either of those parties. And if you check that box and you check a transparency box as well, then you're welcome into the space of We the People. You can have any third-party candidate or party affiliation as you want. You can have 2 of them, 3 of them. Some states allow you to do multiple affiliations, and that's why we were able to get a lot of people on board already. So you're talking about Anthony Aguilar. I know our viewers have been we've been waiting to hopefully have him on the show soon here. So he's going to be with you. Can you? I'll play the clip for you, Kelly. I know you have to go, but just at least can you just give us kind of a preface as far as you're talking about no peasants. You're talking about a similar attack plan, I think, of We the People. Can you tell us specifically how that is in this space of nonpartisan, non-party politics and opening the space for third party? Where does No Peasants fit? And just give us kind of a lead in. I'll play the clip for people. I want them to know where, and then if you also let us know where Anthony Aguilar is fitting into this. Is this an actual party, or is this a space that people are coming into without party affiliation?
No, it's not a party. It is mainly, independents, green, and libertarian. But I know there are other parties. They may be associated with some party, but they're as an independent on the ballot, whatever. We have a candidate pledge, and that's right front at the top of the page. And then we have a voter pledge as well, and that's connected with Sam Husseini's Vote Pact and a guy who started Break the Duopoly. So there's a couple more things I need to update there, but yeah, we're trying to pull candidates from any third party and independent people running to come and talk about these issues that are on the pledge, which is First and Fourth Amendment, anti-war, election transparency. Just look at the pledge and you'll see. And so that's what we're doing, and we just want people to see that there's power in numbers, and that maybe we don't all agree on every single thing, but on these key issues we do. So I would welcome if We the People, right? I believe I followed them on Twitter. I'm happy. This is like this is going to take all hands on deck. So this is not like I'm doing this thing and other people are doing. I want everybody to pull their, efforts together. So maybe they could, if they have a candidate they want to help, or I can send them one their way if they're doing a broadcast, whatever. It's just to try to show the public that yes, this is possible. So,
okay. Well,
but that's it. And the clip is just the clip is a good ending because it's showing, yes, this is possible. Because this narrative that a third party or an independent can't win, it only keeps working because people believe it. And because we need election transparency. But yeah, okay. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that I'm trying to shoot down.
All right. Well, here's the clip.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And independent and sustainable democracy, split ticket voting from independents in battleground states helped put Donald Trump back.
So is this off of an MP4 video, or did you
yeah, it is. Is it not playing?
No, for some reason.
That's weird. Playing. Yeah, it is off. It's an MP4.
And you loaded it in your
I did.
side, huh?
Yeah, and that's why I stopped. I was going to leave, and then I realized, wait, what if I leave and it doesn't play? It's did you pull it up? So it's on my website, No Peasants, but it's also separate right there where it says independent ASU.
If it's on the website, you can scroll down and find it here because you got the scroll.
It's right here. Hold on. But it would just be smaller, but you'll still be able to hear it.
No, you could probably make it large screen once you play it. It should be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Hit the square in the bottom right.
You can click the square on the bottom right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why the MP4 wouldn't play. All right, here we go.
According to ASU's Center for an Independent and Sustainable Democracy, split ticket voting from independents in battleground states helped put Donald Trump back in the White House. This is based on analysis of exit poll data. So we're joined by co-director Tom Riley here to talk about the results and what this means moving forward as the number of independent voters continues to go up. First of all, you were just saying that a lot of young people are going independent these days, huh?
Yeah, I mean, polling is showing upwards of 50% of
50%.
Gen Z voters have rejected joining the parties. So, parties that, don't address this large group of voters, risk alienating a large portion of the electorate.
Okay. Seems easier to go independent, right? If you're hung up on something that either party is doing.
Well, I think that, with the increased polarization, what we're seeing is that nationwide people are self-identifying as independents.
Okay.
So that.
Okay. Looks like we're having a little issue on that one as well.
Republican Democrats vote Democrat largely. How did independents play a role in all of this?
Well, so
here, I'm going to pause it there. We're not able to get that on your end, Kelly. Unfortunately, it's a connection issue.
Kelly's
I
freezing
think
up
you're frozen
too,
as well.
Yeah.
Which is okay. It's okay. I know you had to head out anyway, so we certainly got the conversation going here. I'm going to go ahead and if you want to reset and you got any last words, please come back in. I'm going to take you out there now. Just
let me get my last words in.
Yeah, get your last words in.
This year on the election integrity plans for the countries, Latin America, hopefully we're going to do Peru in April, Colombia at the end of May, and Brazil towards the end of the year. So it'll be very interesting to see what we get. But,
luckily I pulled this up before Kelly came on. This was she was referring to. We found this. This is recent. This is Young Americans Increasingly Rejecting the R's and the D's. in a new poll, and this is completely new Gallup survey. It's just under half, which is 45% of U.S. adults now identify as independents. It's never happened in our generation. It's not happened like this, not at all. And it's a major shift that they're not, just like we said earlier in the show, Craig. We're talking about going back and forth from the Dems to the R's, and they try to herd you back in, then herd you back in over here, and herd you back in. But it seems like they are detaching. So we have 40. So this is a little chart here. You can see in the last 20 years that yellow line just going slowly further up. And we've seen the Dems and the R's down at the lowest they've ever been, 27 a pop and 45 a top. So that's now. This is
That's right now. Yeah.
Right now.
That's like half the country is independent. They're not part of this two-party duopoly. We got to keep pushing. This chart right here is the most important chart out there. This chart right fucking here.
Yeah. Grab it. We gotta let people know that this is a new time, and this is an old one we saw. This is an updated one from Israel. The Israel flag's been added to both. If you guys remember this old meme where the Republicans had nothing on their missiles, nothing on their warships. Democrats had all the flags, the Black Lives Matter, the rainbows. But this is the updated one where they both have Israel flag on it. I think they both
got to
have
put an
AIC
ice
too.
patch on that freaking Republican one too. They got the MAGA hat, so that's cool. But
the MAGA hats
they definitely need an ice patch on that thing too as well.
But I think these type of memes are what people are waking up to, and they know the whole thing is complete BS. So there's that. I know Kelly, you want to say one last thing on your way out because we're ending the segment. I know we had a little issue with the tech, but it's fine.
I get it.
We had the conversation. I think people got it. And if
Yeah.
you wanted to say one last thing before we go.
Yeah, I did, because I have to tell you, I'm going to go out and buy another computer, because it's weird, but ever since we did the Benny interview, I'm having these problems. And I don't know, that could be just a total crazy coincidence, but I ran candidates for Assange all year and didn't. So I don't know, but I've not had these problems, and I'm having all kinds of issues. So I just wanted to apologize. Sorry that happened. I don't know why. I'm hardwired. I've got AT&T fiber, and it's been fine up until we did that. So we'll see. I don't know, but okay. Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye, Kelly. We'll be in touch soon.
Okay, sounds good.
By the way, I don't know if you heard the list of countries. Peru in April, Colombia at the end of May, and Brazil's towards the end of the year. Those are the three we're putting on the target. Haiti's supposed to have an election, but I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll probably cancel it. But those three countries for sure. I've done those three countries before their last elections. So me, Fee, and people like Kelly, Matt, hopefully Les can come all out with us. We get some conservatives involved that are for fair elections, and do this thing the right way. Let's start exposing what real elections look like, and pointing out the fraudulent system we have that lacks transparency over here in the United States. I think it's one of the most important things, because our national sovereignty means something. So,
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, Craig. It's been a long one for you. I know you've been doing interviews all morning, and you've been on.
Call me. Maybe you want to do like an hour with me tomorrow before I play my Mark Sloboda interview. Otherwise, I was going to go by myself. But if you want to come join me for an hour, we can talk more shop. Let me know. We'll be doing the homeless left. The Truth Wire will be done tomorrow. We'll start at 12:15 Eastern. Like I said, I'm going to play this interview I have with Mark Sloboda. Then at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, we have Drive Time on New York, the call-in show. Fiorella filled in for me last week. She had an awesome show. But I'll be back this week, so she won't take my job, because that's as good of a job she did. And, of course, Thursday, the homeless left will be back over here, and I will do my interviews during the day. Thursday day at 11:15, I have Ryan Christian. 12:15, I have Kyle Lanzalone. 1:15, I have Wyatt Reed.
Nice.
So that's just a loaded, studs of interviews. And then Fridays, of course, I'll be doing another Truth Wire back with Fiorella, who will be on assignment on Wednesday. So thank you so much for having me on, Matt. It's always fun and a pleasure to come on with you at the Homeless Left. To be homeless together is always a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Love it. And we'll jump on with you tomorrow. That sounds fun. We'll do an hour.
I'd love to do that. See you then, guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pasta. Okay.
Bye.
We'll see you. All right, guys, homeless left. We're still rocking and rolling here with you guys today. I know you guys have been engaging with us on all the platforms, and we appreciate all the comments. We have some super chats. We're gonna get to those. You know what? Let me just throw one up right now, just because I know he's our boy, Citizen. Citizen Pendejo. We love you, man. Thanks for the super chat. My gosh, how many juice packs are out there? I am sick of learning Hebrew, guys. I mean, it's a hard one. I don't think it stays in my, I can't process the language. I have a hard enough time with Spanish. You're going to ask Leslie about that, but it's yeah, it's very funny. There's so many of these packs out there, and yeah, although it would be nice if we could learn some Hebrew. We could start getting direct we could start getting the information directly from Tel Aviv when they're telling the truth out loud in Hebrew, and then they lie to us on in English. But yeah, these guys they're always up to something, and it never ceases to amaze us how many of these nefarious entities that pop up, and these groups that pop up, and conference after conference, they keep pushing their ideology and their legislation on the rest of us. So we are not allowed to have critique of anything. But yeah, it does get your head spinning a little bit. But thanks for that, Citizen. Okay, let's go ahead and gear up for some talking back. I'm going to get to some more of your guys' comments, and then we have one more story today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and take it too. Go grab your guys a drink or go to the bathroom. We'll come right back with some talking back for you guys. Get your comments on Rumble, on YouTube, and we will cut you to the front of the line if you do a Rumble rant or do a super chat, and we'll make sure you get heard, and we'll respond to you right here on Talking Back with Matt, coming right up, followed by, we have one more story to cover after that. So don't go anywhere. More homeless left. I'll be back in a few minutes. See ya. There we go. It's Talking Back with Matt. We are going through your guys' comments, and it's time to engage with you on our different platforms, on Rumble, on YouTube. Super chats cut to the front of the line. So do Rumble rants on Rumble as well. But we want to hear from you guys right now. So let's see what you had to say. Now, today, we've covered a bunch of stuff. We've been looking at the ICE raids and the pushback, the protests going on in Minnesota and the rest of the country, and the back and forth happening there. It's only getting worse. But by the way, guys, it's only getting worse. It's not going to get any better. We had Trump's Gaza Board of Peace announcement, and this kind of staged, I would say, upsetness by Netanyahu, pretending to be angry about it, which really keeps MAGAs in line and in place, thinking that Trump is sticking it to Netanyahu. Meanwhile, he's aligning all the warmongers on a committee that are going to redo Gaza into a casino or whatever the hell they have planned, but they're going to make a lot of money off of it. We had the IAC summit, Israel First Summit, looking at some of the positioning by both parties. Obviously, it's not just a right-wing situation. You have not just Pam Bondi, Miriam Adelson, you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz on the stage telling us Israel first over anything else. You have hate speech laws going into effect in Florida. And then, of course, we had our election integrity panel with Pasta and KELLEY LANE. We just finished that. So if you guys welcome to comment on any of that right now, and we'll try and get to you. Let's start with we'll fast back to the beginning, rewind to the beginning of the show. And with the ICE stuff, it looks like, yeah, thanks for tuning in, child of God. Everybody's getting locked up. Yeah, everybody. It's not just undocumented workers and illegal aliens. No, they're going for everyone. They're knocking on doors. They're banging doors down. They're intercepting vehicles. They're bashing windows in, and they don't care if you're a U.S. citizen. I don't know if you guys haven't noticed yet. They don't actually care if you're a U.S. citizen or not. Why not? Because they have a quota. They have an arrest quota, not a conviction quota, an arrest quota. However many arrests they can get those bonuses. What are we looking at? 3,000 per day. That's what they need. So in order to do that, you got to knock on anyone's doors, break down whoever you want. Might want to stick with the brown people, right? They're more likely to fit the description. So there you go. There you go. Depending on the color of your skin, you're more likely to get stopped. You could say you have your ID. Hey, can I go? Hey, officer, can I go into the house and grab my ID? No, you can't. No, you can't. Too bad. Sucks to be you. That's what's happening right now. So that's the America first we're living in right now. Lady Buganabana, I love it. Thanks for tuning in. The D's are against ICE, but the sad fact is, if it was Biden, Kamala, Gestapo, they'd be cheering them on, like during the trucker protest. Great point, Ladybug. I love it. Exactly. This is the psychology of the tribal think, right? The tribal think is you will align with the party that in the way that'll help the party, nothing based on morality. If it was based on morality, these people, again, they're on the right side now. They happen to be on the right side now, but where were they during the truckers' convoy? Where were they? They were laughing and mocking them, calling them Nazis. Really? They were calling them Trumpers too. Canadian truckers were Trumpers. They were laughing and just ridiculing. That's what they were doing. What about the right for protest? That didn't seem to exist when it was Biden and Kamala. So that's a great point. Thanks for this. These sides love the boot when it's their tribe. Well said, Ladybug. Love it. So far, that's the comment of the day we're seeing. Okay, what else we got here? Airways, we know you've been in all day. Thank you, Airways. Contrary to Trump's administration claims, ICE is not targeting violent criminals or drug trafficking immigrants, just grabbing people that could be illegal immigrants. That's exactly what we're talking about. Because of why? Because of their quota. Citizen Bendejo, we appreciate the super chat from earlier. Thanks for this, reminding us that Javier Milei, that's the Argentine president, might be Netanyahu's nephew, because Netanyahu's name was Milei before he changed it. That's his father's original name that he then should have had, but then changed it to Netanyahu. Not a very common name. Might be related. Thanks for pointing that out, Citizen. Appreciate it. Okay. Utopians, thanks for tuning in. Racism already includes anti-Semitism. It's a superfluous word. I can never pronounce that one right. Yes, it's weird that you have a special name for something that already has something about it that already is defined as racism, already exists. Why do you need a special one? That should really piss off people that don't get to have their own category. It's really weird, right? How is that okay that you have one particular category that's special, that gets special laws, special rules? Shouldn't you have the same consistency with other races? If you're talking about hate crimes or hate speech, why the special word? Very strange that everyone's okay with that. Okay. Hey, thank you for tuning in. Splashkin Burger. I've only seen a few episodes so far, but I can dig it so far. Thank you. We really, really appreciate that. That's very awesome. Very, very awesome. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. That's right. Do Dissidents rated the stream. We love it when the logo comes up. Sometimes it doesn't register on StreamYard, but thank you guys. And we were trying to figure out the name. Who we rating? It's the Homeless Left. It's the Homeless Left. We hope you guys have not just done the like, but you subscribed as well, so you can get the notifications when we go live. We appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. And Bonzo Beans, thanks for modding for us. We know you're modding for Do Dissidents, so that's very cool. You bringing everybody over here. We really appreciate it, Bonzo Beans. And what else we got here? Let's see. This is funny. Pamela Boondy. That's right. Boo is right. Thank you, Nayum. Really appreciate it. Let's see what else. Love this. Yes, any friend of Keaton and Rush is a friend of mine. Hit the like button. And we've Keaton's been on our show a few times, actually. We've had some great segments with him. We're hoping to get them both on together. That would be awesome. Also, at some point, I know obviously Pasta's been on Due Dissident several times. I'm hoping to come on there since we're still, still fairly new, and hopefully we'll be able to do a guest co-host one of these weeks. It would be awesome. We'll see. It'll happen soon. Airwaves, Zionism is not Judaism. Beach, love it. Thank you. And that's right. Seven Swords Mary. This is the homeless left. That's right. Yes. What else we got here? You guys are loving Pasta on here. Love it. And what else? Okay. And we pointed this out before. This is the tweet that got the Florida lady got in trouble for. Everyone knows that 3 clown emojis conjures an evil anti-Semitic spirit. It's in the Bible. Of course it does. So you guys be careful with your tweets and your Facebook posts, because if you have the wrong emojis, apparently this woman had 3 clown emojis, and the cops had to knock on her door and say that might make people angry and you might change their minds about something. And Governor DeSantis doesn't want that. So just a warning before we arrest you, that you can't do 3 clown emojis. So just so you guys know, Okay. But do you condemn Rotten Tomatoes? That's really the question. Thank you. Go start. That's awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. We were trying to figure out the name of Due Dissidents. They're called Descendants. Descendants. Okay, we'll remember that for next time. We'll remember that. Okay, thank you, Descendants, for tuning in to the homeless left. And good point here. No jab, no COVID. Imagine that. And this is a good point, Kelly Jones. That this is Scott Adams. We also covered Scott. I forgot to tell you guys, we did cover Scott Adams, and his apology and how he went through his cancer. Cut the line treatment turned out to be the wrong treatment. He died last week. Did he actually apologize to anti-vaxxers after he did what he did? We kind of skipped over this part, so thank you for pointing this out. He did do I admitted I was wrong. You guys won. I lost. You're the winner. I'm the loser. Something bad is probably going to happen to me in the next 5 years. He said this 2 years ago. He was wrong. Something bad didn't happen to Scott Adams in 5 years. It happened in 2 years, and now he's dead. It really sucks. It's very tragic. But this part we did leave out of the story. He raged about anti-vaxxers every day for years. So it's not just that he said to his viewers, I'm going to get this jab because here's my chart. Because he had all those charts, right? Chart. Numbers. He said, look at my chart. Look at my numbers. I decided to get it. I'm right. You're wrong. He could have left it at that. And then said 2 years later in 2023, you know what? I got it wrong. You were right. I was wrong. He didn't do that. He raged against people who said no. And not just people who said, I have a bad feeling about this. People who said, I'm looking at statistics. You're not showing me, Scott. I'm looking at statistics coming directly from Brett Weinstein. I'm looking at them coming from Robert Malone. I'm looking at actual preventative treatment and early treatment protocol coming from Dr. Pierre Corey and the FLCCC, who got banned from practicing in the States and had to go get his early treatment protocol kits, COVID kits, out to people in places like Mexico, in El Salvador. Guess what? Those kits saved lives. Not here. We weren't allowed to do ivermectin here. You guys remember that? Ivermectin was not allowed. It was called horse paste. They lied to us. The FDA tweeted out that people with gunshot wounds were not getting treated for gunshot wounds because of why? Because ivermectin overdoses. Because only idiots who drink bleach, that was another lie, you drink bleach, and you do horse paste, you end up in the emergency room, and then gunshot victims don't get treated. They literally told us that on an FDA Twitter account. Not joking, that happened. So if you were somebody who disagreed with Scott Adams and you said, I'm looking at actual data from FLCCC, Dr. Pierre Corey, I'm looking at actual data from Brett Weinstein and who he was talking with. And we knew not only Dr. Robert Malone, there were Steve Kirsch. Now, he was not a doctor, but he was a financier. Thank God somebody like Steve Kirsch existed at the time and could literally write checks out of his own bank account to fund these studies that the mainstream was not going to do. So that's the part that Scott Adams never attested to. And, you know, just by saying I was wrong, you were right is not actually an apology. That's what we determined here with Craig Posse. We talked about what does an apology look like. That's not actually what an apology looks like. It looks like a, hey, I got it wrong, you got it right, you win, I lost. But the reality is we all lost because we all had to suffer from this in one way or another, whether we got the thing or didn't get the thing. So, but yeah, that timeline is important. And I'm glad we took time with it today to go through it. And we're not just moving on, but we're giving people a chance to see chronologically how things went down. And we're not going to forget. You want to talk about never forget? We're never going to forget COVID. We're going to remember how people were treated, how they treated others, and information that was deliberately kept from us and all that stuff. Okay. Leslie, there she is. I don't endorse the vax. I am a nurse. Informed consent is essential. Of course it is. Thank you for that. One of the few nurses on the ground that are actually on the right side of humanity when so many weren't, especially at the time of COVID. A lot of them don't want to talk about it right now. We're over it. We're not talking about it. Yeah. So what else we got? Oh, yeah. Airways. It wasn't about winning. It was about protecting people from poison injections. Exactly. And I know Jungle Jer, we won, is being sarcastic. Yeah, we didn't win. You're right. I mean, it's ridiculous when you say we won or you say that you guys won. It doesn't. It's absolutely insane to say that this was some sort of game. It wasn't a game. Our lives aren't a game. This is real life. This is not. It's not a joke. So I feel really bad what happened to Scott. It irritates me, his behavior, his inability to apologize. What also irritates me is that he thought he could cut the line and said, throw the kitchen sink at me, but he didn't listen to the right people. And he ended up taking a drug that ultimately seemingly seemed to kill him. That's what it seemed to have happened. A very expensive drug that not many people can even afford, let alone they had to wait in a line to get approval. He got to cut the line because Trump and RFK said so. You're Scott Adams. You're the creator of Dilbert. You get to cut the line. And that's what he got. He got to cut the line, get the drug sooner than later. And now he's dead. So might not have been the right treatment. Might not have been. It might not have been the right treatment. If it came from pharma, it might not have been the right treatment. Just like remdesivir and just like ventilators. We know the game, guys. We know the game. But watch out for that ivermectin because you might do an overdose on that horse paste. So, guys, beware of the ivermectin. That's really what it is. Okay. Oh, you were talking about the LA Rams. We won. Oh, well, the good timing on that because it came across as Jungle Chair. It looked like you were having fun with the Scott Adams, you win, we lose situation. But yeah, LA Rams also won. So good for the Rams. Good for the Rams. Oh yeah, thanks for the follow-up there, Jungle Jerry. In a Squid Game kind of way, we did actually win this round if it was a Netflix show, Squid Game. But yeah, I don't think we really feel like that in real life. I don't think that's a thing. That's a thing. Yeah. And so, yeah, he kind of lost twice, I guess, by his logic, Jungle Jer. Scott Adams lost twice. Okay. What else we got? Let's do a few more. Bonzo Beans, cancer sucks. Thank you for that. And thanks for modding with us today. We appreciate it. Kelly Jones, I'm laughing. If you guys noticed when we played that final clip, I couldn't find one after from what it looked like the timestamp. That was the final airing he had. He was coughing. He was literally in the hospital bed in NorCal Kaiser trying to do a podcast from his bed as he's like unable to finish a sentence. It seemed like one of the last things he was attempting was doing the update on Venezuela. And this is right at the beginning of the year. So we know that the Maduro kidnapping happened right on the 3rd. So the next words he might have been trying to say before he coughed too much, because he was talking about Venezuela, is Maduro is a dictator. And wouldn't that be fitting if that actually was his last words? Because that really goes to show you that when you are a person that listens to top-down information told to you by these propaganda outlets that tell you something and you don't look into it, and you just say it because it was told to you, that kind of makes sense, right? Don't forget to take your COVID vax. And by the way, Maduro is a dictator. Seems to line up beautifully there, unfortunately for him. But yeah, that would have been interesting if that was literally the last thing he said. Yep. That's right. Graham Works. Thanks for tuning in. Nah, man, not in my tribe. We're allowed to think and speak. Okay. Well, listen, maybe you're part of a community. Maybe the tribes we're referring to are tribes that you're not allowed to think and speak. You're not allowed to think and speak in MAGA. Not really. Look what happens to let me give you an example. We know MAGA you can't think and speak in MAGA. Look what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look what's happening to Thomas Massey. Look what's happening to Candace Owens. Look what happens to Tucker Carlson. All people who voted for Trump and campaigned for Trump. Big time. So no, you're not allowed to think and speak. You're a traitor if you think and speak. And what we know personally as coming from the left, of course you can't challenge Joe Biden. You can't say Joe Biden has a mental problem, that he's not able to function. His mental capacities are gone. You can't say that. It's a stutter. Shut up. F you. Get in line. It's a stutter. Guess what else we couldn't say? We were not allowed to think about the primary. What the hell is this primary that we never get to have? You screwed us with Bernie twice, apparently. And now you won't even let RFK Jr. get on a stage at all. What's your excuse? There's no COVID this time. What's your excuse for not letting RFK Jr. on the Democratic stage for a primary? You said Joe Biden's a sure thing. There's no reason to debate him. Really? Is he a sure thing? Or were you always going to switch him out with Kamala? Why didn't you just switch him out with Kamala when you knew he had a problem? Oh, but then you'd have to have a primary. You'd have to have RFK Jr. on the stage across from Kamala Harris. And that would have not been fun for the Democratic Party. So we weren't allowed to question that. No primary. Guess what that means? No primary, no democracy. We don't have a democracy. Couldn't say it. Anyways, that's how tribal minds think. I'm not sure what your tribe is, Graham, but if your tribe allows you to think and speak, I don't think it's a tribe. I think that's called a community. And good for you for being part of a community. And welcome to our community, by the way. Okay, let's do like two more, and then we'll throw up some others at the end. And Kelly was on with us, Kelly Lane, and you got some applause there from Nalem and also Airways. Hi, Kelly. We had a great discussion about election integrity. Oh, look at this. We have some pushback from Chris Green. Oh, this is interesting. Anti-vaxxers are scientific illiterates with zero scientific bodies in the world backing their BS, as they have no peer-reviewed studies with verifiable and reputable empirical data. Actually, we do. We actually do. There's tons of it. And if you're thinking that, what are you resting your laurels on, Chris Green? I guess you're resting your laurels on an industry of pharma that does not have to provide any data. They're actually exempt. They're exempt from providing any side effects. They don't have to tell us any. The only reason we have the Pfizer side effects is that a judge demanded that they release them from the vax. That was a 75-page document that they didn't want you to see. Anytime there's something rewind before the vax, we had the Barrington Declaration that was telling you three scientists that put that together, that were top-notch scientists, including Jay Bhattacharya, who told you that the lockdowns were bullshit, and here's why. And they didn't let that get out. Fauci, he banned that from getting out. him and Fauci and Collins did a hit job on the Barrington Declaration. So this is even before the vax came out. So you think that peer-reviewed studies that we actually did see and did have, that they would be honestly looked at? See, that's the part you're missing. You actually believe that if there were peer-reviewed studies, which there were, but let's say you're right. Okay, let's imagine a world in which there was no data from anti-vaxxers, as you say. You're claiming that if we did have data, it would be honestly shown to the public. And that's our disconnect here, because that's not actually true. We have too many examples of data being suppressed. So you can't be in a corner saying, from your corner, you're telling us that if we had data to back up claims, then people would see it. No, they won't. Therefore, you can't make a reliable claim that there isn't any data. You see how that works? Because you don't have access to it. We do. You probably haven't watched our show. That's probably the problem. And you haven't seen mountains of data coming from Dr. Peter McCullough. You haven't seen mountains of data coming from Dr. Pierre Corey. You haven't seen mountains of data because you aren't looking, because they don't want you to see it. So we do have the data. We have incredible people that have been on this the whole way. Tons and tons of people have been working on this, and we've had them on our show several times. And you should go back and watch some of our segments that we've done on COVID, and plenty of data to provide you. So just DM us, and we'll be glad to provide some of it to you. And none of us should want pharma to have complete immunity. They're not allowed to get sued. All these vaccines on the market. There's this mandated element of childhood vaccines. We shouldn't want that. If there's no data that they can provide, that they don't have to provide, they can just put another vax on the market. We should all be against that. Even if you just I love vaccines. I love them. I love them. I love them. Even if you love them, you should want there to be safeguards in place. You should really want that. We should all want that. That's a minimal place we can all agree. We all should be agreeing on. Unfortunately, we don't, because the machine has worked very well dividing us and putting us into these hate camps of the other side is bullshit. I don't want to hear anything they have to say. So let's us try to avoid being like that. I want to hear what you have to say. That's why I put the comment up. I want to hear where you're coming from and why you think that there's no data on the other side that isn't available. It's all there. It's all there. Look up Dr. Peter McCullough. That's the one I would recommend to look up. He's got access to so much information coming out from all over the world, all sorts of studies. We just had one in South Korea come up. They put the entire population of South Korea. It was like 5 million people. They had studies on every single one of them in a data collection, and discovered these unfortunate side effects from the vax that happened. It was all immune deficiency related issues, all of them. So if you had the vax, you were affected. Your immune system was affected 100 times, like 5 million people in that study. So it's interesting. If you are curious, go look that up, and you'll be able to look at it and then inform your own belief based on that information that you just haven't had. You haven't had informed consent. That's the problem. That's the problem. So go look that up. We'll do one more. And we do appreciate alternate views and opinions, and we can certainly have these conversations into the future. I love this one. We put this one up earlier. Either way you get it, you're getting John McCain. FML. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That pretty much does it. Okay. Let's actually, I'll throw one more up. This is worth a final look at. Okay. Razzed by Wolves, thanks for tuning in. We have plenty of nonpartisan issues that we cannot fight over. Nonpartisan issues that we cannot fight over, like Israel, transparency, not being the murdo hobo capital of the world. Yeah. Why we should all be able to come together on these issues when it comes to election integrity. Why would we not want transparency? Why would we want a foreign country to be our first priority over our country? Why would anybody want that? I don't care what ideology you have. Those should be just no-brainers. And we shouldn't be the murder capital of the world, or the murdo hobo capital of the world. Those are good points. Thank you for that. And that should do it for this week's Talking Back with Matt. We will be, actually, I would say we'd be right back, but we'll remind you of this. We had this chart up earlier. I just want you guys to, if you missed this, we played this right at the end with Kelly and Craig Pasta. Pasta said himself, this is the most important graph out there right now. So go ahead and do me a favor, everyone. Screen grab this, or you can wait till I'll tag it up at the end of the Talking Back segment right before we end it. But screen grab this and get this out there to people. This is the most important graph right now. If you want to start having a conversation about third-party politics, if you want to start having a conversation about election integrity, if you want to start having a conversation about where people are going to go and herd back into what party they're going to go to or not go to next time around, this is the graph that's important. It's finally suddenly okay to be detached from the two-party duopoly. 27 and 27, the lowest numbers we've ever seen from a red and a blue ever in our lifetimes. So there it is. 27% for R's and for D's, and you have 45%. This is all adults that are saying, I am not part of this system anymore. 45%. So there you go. There you go. Okay. I don't think we need a break right now because we have one segment for you. One segment left for you. Let's go ahead and get this one up. Okay, here we go. We saw this go down a few days ago, and obviously we don't do a show over the weekend, so we weren't able to comment on it yet. You might have seen some coverage on some other channels. I think Due Dissidents covered this story so far, but we're about to do our take. It's time to look at the Gavin Newsom sit down with Ben Shapiro. This was a real pull the curtain back moment for anybody who thought that the two-party duopoly still had some life to it as far as, independent voices or people that were championing that there was any difference. If you thought there was any difference between the two parties, think again, because if you think that the next wave of people are going to get excited about Gavin Newsom because he's going to do anything differently than Donald Trump, that is never going to happen. Even if he wanted it to, he can't. And the way we can tell is how Gavin Newsom responds to Ben Shapiro when they're talking about Israel. Watch how Gavin Newsom changes his behavior. All that Shapiro has to do is ask him what he feels about this issue. Well, the issue we're talking about is genocide. And if Gavin Newsom can't even make it through this conversation with Shapiro, how the hell is he going to do it with any other media folk, any other politician in a debate, or any other constituents that want to ask him about where he stands on this? He's going to cower to Israel. He's going to cower to the Zionist movement. He might as well be a Zionist himself. A lot of people think he's a Zionist. I don't actually care at this point if he is or not. If he is, F him. If he's not, guess what? He's such a coward, he might as well just be one. It doesn't really make a difference. Here we go. Here is Ben Shapiro, not even like masterfully breaking down Gavin Newsom. It's kind of easy for him to do, but he does it nonetheless. Here we go.
Have now been dragged into this conversation, some drag, some run with, flags waving, into the conversation.
This notion of genocide.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Israel did not commit a genocide in Gaza. There is no standard by which Israel committed a genocide in Gaza, just on a factual level.
Just as a legal and factual level.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of this?
My opinion is I understand the tendency for people to make that, to assert that.
Why?
On the basis of the images and the proportionality
Ugly
as it
shit
relates
doesn't
to
mean
the
genocide.
No. And by the way, I agree with you.
And international and proportionality
excusing
doesn't
it.
mean that if you kill my child and I then kill 7 criminals, that I've been disproportionate.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think but I understand that tendency on the basis of trying to reconcile the proportionate nature of how the war was ultimately conducted and the devastation.
I have a question. Why do you feel the need to create a permission structure for that sort of stuff? I mean, meaning it's not true.
Yeah.
Why not just say it's not true?
Yeah, look, I don't know the definition, or I don't know the legal.
You don't know the definition of genocide? You never looked it up? That's weird. You think by now you would have maybe, I might have bought this 2 years ago. Hell, even a year and a half, maybe even a year ago. I don't buy this. What do you mean you haven't looked it up? What do you mean you don't? Gavin Newsom doesn't know the definition of genocide, and he's thinking of running for president. And he doesn't know the thing that we've been doing, and he knows, and he's saying he knows that people believe it is. That's what they're not disagreeing on the definition of genocide. He's going to cower to Ben Shapiro here and say, "Oh, whatever you say it is. I'm with you, man. I'm with him. I'm with him. This psychopath Zionist piece of shit, Ben Shapiro. I'm trying to run as a People's Party, or not People's Party, a People's candidate for the Democratic Party to show that there's a heart, that there should be heart and soul back into the presidential office because Trump took it away. He took it away. We want it back. But I'm going to align with anything you say, right-wing psychopath Zionist mother effer, Ben Shapiro. So we're not even debating the definition. He's saying, I believe you. I'm just trying to understand why other people might think it is. And he can't even get that out because Ben Shapiro won't even let him say that.
Threshold. That's not my opinion, so I don't share that opinion as it relates to genocide. I do not agree with that notion.
But you do understand that if you accuse Israel of committing a genocide, that now puts Israel in the position of it should be a pariah state because states that commit genocide should be pariah states. Yeah. So granting legitimacy to that position inherently,
I'm not granting legitimacy. I'm just saying the devastation in Gaza at the human level. You've got 4 kids.
Of course, it's terrible.
No, but I think it's also important to absorb that a little bit more. Just as it was sick, and we were clear in our condemnation, these people like me, as it relates to what Hamas did in that act of barbarism and terrorism.
Yeah, but there's a difference.
Oh yeah, that I just so you know, I'm with you on all these lies about October 7th and the barbarism and the act is terrorism and disgusting. He might as well just throw in 40. I wonder if he did that. He should pull a Colbert. Remember when Colbert, not CBS Colbert, but the Comedy Central Colbert. You remember when he used to overdo it in the character just to make people uncomfortable? That might be a trick you could do to Ben Shapiro. Gavin Newsom's not smart enough to do that. He should. Could you imagine if Gavin Newsom just said, yeah, those 40 beheaded babies, and he could just list all the lies, and Ben Shapiro would be like, Ben Shapiro wouldn't be able to correct it because that's part of his whole game is to push lies. So even lies that have been debunked, Newsom should just go all in at this point because he looks like a fool trying to be like, I agree with you, but can you at least acknowledge, Ben, please, buddy, I'm agreeing with you, man. Come on, dude. Can we just acknowledge that this other opinion exists? And it's kind of valid that they might see it that way, even though we know it's no. He's saying, no, asshole, you don't get to acknowledge their opinion. I'm telling you, you can't. You are not allowed to do that. You have to align with me on all of this. So this whole conversation is a big effing joke for Ben Shapiro. He's not going to let him get away with anything that even constitute a minuscule amount of empathy for anybody in Palestine or people protesting Palestine or on behalf of Palestine.
Crystal clear, that's a red
terrorism
line.
And wartime collateral damage, of course. And if we refuse to acknowledge that reality, then we end up equating
collateral damage. I have stronger opinions. It wasn't just collateral.
Really, you think that Israel is targeting civilians?
I think some of the double tapping issues. I have a lot of issues with how Bibi ultimately conducted the war. I personally do, and I have a lot of issues that are also painted on the basis of the conversation I had with.
Now, I heard some people on Twitter say, well, good for Gavin for pointing out the double tap. Okay, he said it, but he never challenged. He's completely in the defense. He has no power in this conversation. If he had any power, he would say, do you, Ben Shapiro, denounce the double tap by Netanyahu? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, could you imagine that? What would Ben Shapiro say to that? What would he say? Why can't Gavin Newsom take control of this moment? He says double tap, but then where does it go? It goes nowhere. Shapiro doesn't have to account for the double tap because Newsom just did it as a throwaway line, and he doesn't have to ever account for it.
A few weeks later, after October 7th, the way he talked about the Palestinians, I kept talking about Hamas. He kept talking about the Palestinians. I kept coming back to Hamas, and then ultimately how the war was conducted. Not saying it was a genocide. I'm not, but I have issues.
What is
with
the thing that he said that you particularly?
There was a dehumanization. I didn't like the way he talked about the Palestinian people. I just didn't.
What is the specific? Thing
they can't govern. I didn't. The specific. I don't want to get into the details.
I don't want to. You're stumbling me up here, Ben. I don't know, but just in a general sense of the thing, I'm just trying to show just a little ounce of empathy while we do these horrible things, and I support these horrible things. I guess you don't actually have any human side to you at all. I guess I didn't fully understand that until I sat down with you, that you are a total psychopath. I didn't get that until now. I thought you might have a little bit of just a little something where you could say, I didn't like the way, people shouldn't be talking like that about people that are being starved to death by American taxpayers and by a psychotic Israeli state, occupational genocidal state. No, so he's not getting anything. He's not being thrown even a bone by Ben Shapiro, and it looks bad. It looks really, really bad for Gavin Newsom and any sort of base in the Democratic Party right now that thinks that they're going to be mobilizing for the next chapter, the post-Trump chapter. They think they're going to be mobilizing a base, a new, fresh base that wants humanity back. You're not getting humanity back in the White House when you talk like this and you align with psychotic assholes like Ben Shapiro right across from you.
The reason I'm asking is because when you suggest that he is conflating Hamas and the Palestinians,
he wasn't
then
conflating.
Of course, it does lead to the conclusion.
They were different. It wasn't. No. It was. I'm just saying the way he ultimately conducted it. I look back at that conversation. I reflect on that conversation. It doesn't surprise me, and I did not think it was proportionate.
Okay,
and I thought it was overwhelming, and the devastation and destruction breaks my heart.
Okay, so you're president of the United States. Somebody invades from Mexico. They take several thousand American citizens.
I get it. And by the way,
they hold them all the way until the end of the war. Until the end of the war, they're hostage.
Hey Ben, in your analogy, are we keeping Mexico in an open air prison? Have we been stealing their land and murdering them? And have we passed laws that say you can't defend anybody in Mexico? You can't defend their rights. Are we jailing people for that right? Or is there a lobby that's lobbying for the extinction of Mexico? Or is there a lobby? I see. This is the part where you could take control of this conversation if you wanted to. I don't know if maybe Newsom doesn't have the skill, but he certainly has presentational skills. He knows how to get ready for he knows how to be camera ready. He certainly has that Hollywood vibe. But does he know how to control a conversation, control an interview? He doesn't. But if he did, he's deliberately not doing it. So either way, it's not cool. If anyone's considering getting behind a guy like this, where he's just going to let Shapiro come up with some crazy, ridiculous analogy about Mexico and equate that to the way Palestinians have been treated for over 70 years since the Nakba. And there's no comparison here. This stupid Mexico thing. You could make up some stupid analogy about Canada. You could do this about anything. It's not what we're talking about. And if you're going to be on the receiving end of this, you got to be ready to challenge that back and interrupt him once in a while. Guess who's interrupting the other person during this? Have you noticed how many interruptions has Gavin Newsom had? None. How many interruptions has Ben Shapiro had to Gavin Newsom? Several interruptions, which is part of the game of keeping control of an interview, is the interruption factor. That's part of it.
Just being held.
Don't get me wrong on any of this. I'm with you in terms of the ultimate accountability and bringing the hostages home. I like the clarity and conviction as it relates to getting all the hostages dead and alive home, and all of that. I'm not denying that.
And by the way, Hamas still has not been extirpated in the areas where Israel has left them alone.
And clearly this truce and détente is still a work in progress. There's been a lot of destruction.
Well, because
There's been
Hamas
a
was
lot
supposed to be disarmed, and
yeah.
they didn't.
Look, I'm crystal clear about Hamas.
But the point is that
crystal clear about Hamas.
Right, but the point is that I think
and I'm also crystal clear in my love for Israel and my condemnation of Bibi. And there's a distinction. I condemn Donald Trump. I love my country.
Wow, he finally interrupted him. He said, I just wanted you to reiterate my love for Israel. My love. Wow, what a bold thing to interrupt and just tell Ben Shapiro, I'm here, man. Israel first, man. Come on, man. Stop giving me a hard time. I was just trying to do a little thing there. It was for my base. I guess it didn't work, but come on, man. I wish you had just humored me. I just wanted to at least let people know that I had some sort of acknowledgement that there was an opinion out there that, of course, I didn't agree with, but I understood it. But no, I guess I wasn't allowed to do that because you really are a psychopath. And I'm a kiss ass piece of shit myself because I'm just going to let you walk all over me. And that's it. And this is why we're seeing more memes like this going up now. We see this. The Israel flag is actually on both military vehicles in this meme. This is an updated meme. It used to be Republicans had none on their plane. They were just dropping bombs. Democrats had all the signals, the Black Lives Matter, the rainbow flags. They had all the signals. But Republicans and Democrats, Israel flag on both. I think the Democrat one is missing the AIPAC symbol as well. But yeah, they do have the Christian right up there on the wing, back wing of the plane. But yeah, this is what people are noticing. And of course, Gavin Newsom fits right into this image. He'd be flying that plane right there, right below, right on that Democrats one, right on the bottom half. He'd be flying that plane. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just as long as you got the right signs on your side, the side of your plane, and you make sure people know you're with the Democrats. And he borrowed a line from Hillary Clinton when he says, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm with you. So I'm not the only person that has a problem with this. A lot of people have a problem with this. I want to just highlight one person that I thought was interesting to show his evolution. His name's Sean King. You guys might have heard of him. He was a staunch advocate of what we call the Democratic Party back during Black Lives Matter, and he broke off of it during the Biden administration when he realized that Biden was the one writing the checks for the genocide. He said, I've had enough, and he had enough of both parties. Here is Sean King, who posted this video that you just saw. We just broke the video down for you guys. And Sean King says, after he denies genocide and professes his crystal clear love for Israel. And that was at the end, guys. Remember, a crystal clear love. Crystal clear love. I will oppose Gavin Newsom if he runs for president. This is Sean King saying, I will oppose this piece of shit, which is consistent with Sean King's principles over the last 5 years when he's gotten out of the two-party system. And he said, if you're for genocide, I don't care what you have next to your name. When a future presidential contender denies genocide in Gaza, we're obligated to say it plainly no. And unfortunately, to Sean King's surprise, and mine too, I have to admit, I thought all the people that hated this part about him had already ditched him. All the vote blue no matter who people had already ditched Sean King. So I was very shocked when I saw this come up on my Telegram group earlier this morning when Sean King said that more people have canceled their membership to him over this article than anything else I've written in months. Well, okay, that makes sense. In months, because it's been months and months and months since he denounced the Democratic Party. And I think he probably lost a lot more people during that. But at this point, yes, the people, they jumped ship. They said, we don't want to hear that. We want to have an answer on the Democratic side. We don't want you to tell us that you're not voting for Newsom. So readers basically told me that as long as I speak out on Democrats who support Israel, they will not support me. That's really, really sad. Readers that had gone this way with Sean King are telling him that. And he says, let me be very clear on something. I don't care if 100% of my members canceled. I'm still going to call out Dems for supporting Israel. I don't care who they are. If you do a podcast with Ben Shapiro and say there is no genocide and that you are crystal clear in your support for Israel, then I will call you out and I will work against you in every way I know how, period. Well said, Sean King. That's what we call having principle and being consistent with that principle. So if you're still a viewer of Sean King and you disagree with that statement, you shouldn't be reading his thing. If you disagree with that statement, you shouldn't really be watching our show. I mean, you can. Okay, we had a little glitch. We're back. Sorry about that. This happened last week too. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. Let me put this back up here. Okay. Hope we yeah, I saw that froze on Rumble. Okay, we're back, guys. Let's see. Hopefully. Okay, hopefully we didn't lose too much. Okay, great. We're still here. We're still here. Okay, that we were just finishing that topic anyway. So yeah, that's that. That's that with Sean King. And if you guys don't agree with that, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be watching our shows, but you're welcome to. But we like people like Sean King that are consistent with their principle and apply it even when it's inconvenient to do so, which he's doing here. And Gavin Newsom, we're going to be coming back to this footage. Don't think you can get out of the you're not going to be able to wiggle out of this. We're going to come back to this footage. If you become that front runner, you become a legitimate runner in the next presidential election, we will be citing this footage over and over again until people see this is what you're voting for. The same effing thing that we have now, just a different character they created, just a different character, same policy, different personality. That's all we're doing here, guys. We're changing personalities. We're not changing policy. You guys, is that starting to make sense now? I hope it is. I hope it is. Okay. That about does it here for the show. I think that there are, we did have this tech issue, but I think we were able to recover most of these comments that I think, I didn't want to have them lost, but I think, yes, we got another, we do have a Rumble rant and we have another super chat. Let's do the super chat from Citizen. Thank you, Citizen Padeo. The reason I'm being a pain is a new flotilla plus more Italians protesting are the only way to force Trump to let foreign journalists into Gaza. Yes, I think you're right on the Italians. I think we discussed this last week, Citizen. The protesting was effective, and it'll be even more effective if they do it indefinitely, because that's what is the significance of the Italian protesting that you're referring to? What Citizen is referring to here, guys, is the Italian protesters were the workers. There were the unions. They were the ones controlling the supply chain. That's who were protesting, and that actually does make a difference. So they can do that for any issue. This was the last one was to get aid into Gaza. That was it. And shortly after that, the ceasefire happened. But it was the biggest protest we've seen, and Israel was suffering from the supply chain. You could do it again, and you could do it in regards to making your demand, because every good protest needs a good demand. What would be the demand? This is a good one. Let foreign journalists into Gaza. We will not work until you let foreign journalists into Gaza. That'd be a great one. I like that a lot. So thanks for that, Citizen. I don't think it's a pain. I think you have to shout at the top of your lungs sometime. You have to beat stuff over the head of people. It's fine. You can do that. It's totally fine. If you say something enough, maybe people will hear it. Maybe they didn't hear it the first time or the second. They might hear it the third. Totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Okay. I think we did get a Rumble rant. Let me try and drag it from Rumble here, because I want to make sure people are getting the credit as deserved. yes, we did have it. This one's a good one. We really appreciate this one. Let's see. Let me grab it and drop it here. Rumble rant coming through. Yes, here we go. This Rumble rant is from Jafari. Jafari, thank you so much for the Rumble rant. I threw it up on our banners. When people have compared Palestinians to Mexico, I point out Mexico is an independent nation, not an occupied people. Let me put that back up. Not an occupied people like an Indian reservation if it were surrounded by a wall with armed guards. Exactly. So this comparison is dishonest. And you're referring to, appreciate the Rumble rant. Thank you so much. You're referring to when Ben Shapiro brought up Mexico as an analogy to Gavin Newsom, who had no thought of the matter, that had nothing to do with the situation in Palestine, because you're not occupying the people. You don't have a wall around them. They're not in this military occupied zone. It's an open air prison. And you don't have the years of stealing their land and murdering and pillaging and raping, not to mention illegally taking them hostage and calling them prisoners when they're not prisoners. They never go, the children that we've been taking. So could you imagine that if we had gone into Mexico and arrested all of these kids and said they threw rocks and now we're going to hold them indefinitely in our country and just load them up, thousands of them. If we did that to Mexico, then we could start talking about that analogy, Ben Shapiro. But that is the worst example. If you want to say, hey, what would you think? What would you do if this blah, 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 blah? No. If Mexico came into our country, if Mexico came and attacked us, what if we funded that attack? What if we said, so there's so many things on this table that have nothing to do with the thing we just experienced on October 7th. But Ben Shapiro wants to draw that analogy because he's trying to make it look like, well, wouldn't we be against that if Mexico did that to us? Not if we put them in a position where they had to resist, and resistance is legal. Internationally speaking, you're allowed to resist an occupation. That is by law. That is not illegal. You're not actually a terrorist by resisting occupation. You're not a terrorist by resisting. How do you respond to that? What's the way you do? How do you go about that if you're in an open air prison? What do you do if your entire supply chain is controlled by this foreign entity that is controlling you, that came into your country, took your land, surrounded you in a very small space, and said, we're going to control all your water, electricity, everything, and your housing. And we're going to arrest you anytime we feel like it. And we're going to shoot at you anytime we feel like it. This was all before October 7th. So you guys know how insincere that was. Thank you so much for the Rumble rant again. Really appreciate it. Let's see if I'm missing anything else. We'll just get one last look here. If you guys had anything else come through, really do appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. I love you. And you guys, you stuck it out when we have little tech issues and stuff. I think it's really cool. I don't know if I'd be so patient. If I was it, I might not be as patient. I'm like, hey, well, this thing froze up. I want to go somewhere else. But you guys stuck it out, and I really do appreciate you guys so much. We all do. And on that note, yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. I just want to say thank you to everybody today. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to our mods, Leslie, Bonzo, Citizen. Thank you for all the engagement on YouTube and the super chats and our Rumble rant on Rumble. Really do appreciate that. The one that came in from Jafari, really appreciate it. And of course, our guests, we had Craig Pasta in here with us today. Thanks so much, Craig, and to Kelly Lane, much appreciated. Yeah, good show. We'll be back with you guys on our normal Thursday episode. We'll be back here at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. We're going to cover a few things that we weren't able to get to today. One would be the Chile fire. We'll be definitely getting into that. We have a Kaiser story for you guys. We have a worker story for you guys that started to develop last week, and we're going to have more on that this Thursday. And we got updates on Venezuela, and are particularly involving a film that we produced here. Actually, before we were the Homeless Left, produced a film in Venezuela, and there's a little interesting development with the film that I'm going to get into. It has to do with Vice and our relationship with Vice. It's very interesting. So hold off on this one. We were going to do it today, but I want to hold off till Thursday. I'll have more information. we have some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'm going to share it with you guys publicly on the show on Thursday. I filmed Tupamaro, which we shot in Caracas. It's an award-winning documentary, won the Beverly Hills Film Festival. Executive producer Ed Asner before he passed away. But there's some developments with that film. Since Venezuela is in all the news now, it has come up on our feed. So we'll talk to you about that. And Jay Scott will be back with us as well, and we might have another guest here as well. Okay, that should do it, guys. I'll throw up a few other comments if you guys throw them in the next 5-10 minutes. But I will play you out with this. I'll play you out with this, guys. So this was Martin Luther King weekend, as you guys know. Yesterday was a holiday. We didn't really cover Martin Luther King today. It was. You guys know the anniversary. It's the anniversary of when our government decided to give it a holiday commending MLK and his civil rights work that he did with civil rights, March on Washington, the Civil Rights Act, 1964. Those are the things we commemorate. We don't talk about the last year of his life. That's what they don't want us to talk about. And it's very interesting that that people did not like him when he was killed, because he represented anti-war machine. He represented the anti-military industrial complex. And that's the part that gets left out of the history book. So on the way out, guys, because it's Martin Luther King Jr. This last weekend, just wanted to remind you with this clip that what Martin Luther King actually was in his heart is he was a radical anti-imperialist. And he described our U.S. government as the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. He never got to stick it to Israel. I wish he would have. That part is unfortunately unfinished business. But he was going that direction. I believe he was going that direction. And if they didn't kill him, he would have stuck around a little long enough to say, Malcolm, you were right, buddy. I didn't realize how bad it actually was. But he was getting there. He was getting there. And it was time to teach him a lesson. You didn't stay in your lane, King. You should have stayed in your civil rights lane. You insisted on getting out of that lane. And now you got to pay the price. So unfortunately, that's how it goes. And then you give him a holiday and you erase the last year of his life. Interesting. That sounds so familiar. Where did I see that before? Oh, that's right. Something to do with somebody got killed here a few months ago. And right at the last few weeks, he started calling out another thing he wasn't supposed to call out. And now he's dead. I don't know. I can't remember. It all bleeds together. Something. Maybe one of you guys will think of the comparison. But all in all, remember Martin Luther King was more than civil rights. He was anti-imperialist. We'll leave it at that. Homeless left for you guys. We'll be back Thursday. I'm Matt Weinglass. Non-tribal approach to news. Remember, always go at the world with courage, with conviction, and principle. That's it, guys. So remember, what is it? It's hashtag we love to say power to the people and free Palestine. We'll see you next time.